Hello. Good morning. Hello. If anyone is out there, let me know if my live stream is working okay. Okay, I'm live. This is February 2026, Avenue Access live stream. I mean, I only use this once a month, so it gives me weird things on my end, this thing. Like I need to sign in the chat and stuff. I have no idea what's going on. Okay, let me see if anything is working properly. Let's hope it is. Oh, it's working. Okay, good. Because my end just gives me weird stuff. I only signing on this app once a month. Every time I go on, something has been updated, changed. Things work and things don't work. So yeah, this is the thing of not being a daily streamer. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time where you are. Hope you're doing well. Hello people from everywhere. India, hello Vietnam. Oh. How's the weather? Oregon. I mean, recently North America was not nice, but you get a couple of terrible days every winter anyway. Today is actually warm. Yesterday was actually comparatively speaking warm. I think we're out of the super cold part of this winter. Everything is looking like warmer and warmer from now on. Let's hope that's the case. Hello people from Europe. California, Budapest, oh cool, Singapore. So many people from so many different places. We are on Thursday, the 5th of February, and about 12 days from Chinese New Year. This year is really late. This year's Chinese New Year is kind of one of the latest you can ever get, I think. In the late mid-February is like the latest you could ever go. Pretty late. Nice. I mean, you don't get ice. Actually, in winter, if you get ice, it's not too bad. I feel like I much prefer a winter that actually feels like a winter instead of a winter that's way too mild. Wow, over 25 in your city. Nice. We're still in the minus zone. It's gonna be for another at least a month or two. Usually in April, it can still be like minus where I am. It really gets like properly like normal and warm in May. Tundra. Okay, so this month. Chinese drama. I think they have like KPI for whatever reason before Chinese New Year. So every drama is like... Right now there are 2 new dramas that just aired a few hours ago that I haven't even had time to check, because today you again have like Swords into Plowshares drama that airs 3 episodes. Born to be Alive, I'm still following it, but there are 2 new episodes I haven't watched. The Truth drama, that's the the police drama. Also 2 episodes that I haven't watched. You have new release of like 4 to 6 episodes. I can't remember. For the Bai Lu and Wang Xingyue's period drama setting Tang Palace on Youku. That's called Tang Gong Qian, right? Whatever the English name is. That one just aired. So it's gonna be more than 2 episodes, because on the first day it's always bigger than that. I haven't had time to check it out yet. Also, the Wang Churan and Cheng Lei drama aired. The How Dare You or How Are You? I can't remember the English title. It's like always confusing, but it's like 成何体统. It's two people who traveled into the book or something. So if I want to watch the rest of the dramas that are airing that I need to watch today, I need to at least watch 12 episodes of drama that I haven't even started. I don't think I can do that for the rest of today. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. And then I just hope like one of them will jump out and say, I'm not good enough, it's not worth watching, don't spend your time, so that I can just put it off. It's so many dramas. Source is raining. Why? Because it's like too proper and everything else looks like they're just having fun. Yeah, there's two. I mean, Swords is more historical. Nirvana is still entertainment. It's still very fictional. It's barely any, you know, like real history at all. Plows is like Swords is, I'd say 80% sort of following history. It does shift details and characters, and certain things are, I'd say, elaborated or moved around by the scriptwriters. And they take creative license on these things. It's not 100% completely like taking from history word by word, but it's close enough. They blend certain characters together into one character, and then they shift people's timeline, slightly changing things here and there. But overall, the flow of history is on the kind of like pretty accurate side of things. So it's different from, I'd say, any other period dramas you've seen in the last few years in Chinese dramaland, due to historicals are just not made anymore these days. Because the problem is, if you want to make an entertainment piece of period drama that's a historical, you're likely to not get through censorship. I want to adjust the light a bit. The light is looking a bit weird. Ooh, come on. Control your head. Chinese dramas in recent years have pretty much given up entertainment version of historical dramas due to it just doesn't go through censorship. So if you are a private owned production company that wants to do a period drama, best way to do it is fictional, because it's easy to go through censorship. If it is a historical that has real historical characters' name in it, then the censorship problem becomes much more complicated, because it's really not encouraged or recommended for you to include real historical characters that are then in your story that's a totally fictional story that you cannot have any historical stuff to back it up. Tends to not get through censorship, because Chinese people take history very seriously, and for all kinds of other reasons. At least that's the recent kind of years policy. So pretty much for proper historical dramas, if you see one that gets made, it's booked by someone. It's not a company that wants to make money decides to do a period drama. It is literally top down. It is like, for example, the provincial government of a place, or whatever, like the China's administration that's in control of any type of publication. They need to do a project that is for, obviously, clearly they do it at certain time for certain reasons. For example, they want to talk about particular period of history or particular important historical figures. They kind of decide we want to get a project like that done. Then they go out and seek people, whatever production company or writers or whoever who's interested in taking on this project. So from day one, when this type of project gets done, it's already from top down. It's like already decided we need one. Then we go out and find who can do it, instead of people just like want to do it on their own and hope that it gets through censorship. So historical dramas these days are like that. Therefore, you barely see anything get made in the last 5 years, really. That's like one of the, and also like some older dramas like Bai Yu and Zhang Ruoyun led The Fated General still hasn't aired till today, which is 10 years ago. That drama was made 10 years ago, because it doesn't go through censorship because it is not accurate in the drama's content. It's not accurate to real history, and it doesn't get through. So, Swords into Plowshares is like the first one we've seen in years, because it was from day one. It was initiated from like top down. It's like, oh, we already decided we need a historical drama, then we go and get it made. That's what is going on with Swords, if anyone cares about that. Yeah, so, and also they did this for multiple reasons. One is, I think, Zhejiang province. So the current where Wuyue anciently is, and Hangzhou is the capital. Kind of Hangzhou is like the new hub of tech right now in China, which is in Zhejiang, right? The government there had always wanted to promote their local culture and also tourism. They actually have been trying to do something like in drama, for example, for years, and just this project actually, after it aired, they've done interviews. Apparently this project was actually in the kind of sort of like earliest days of its conception was actually back in 2016. So it's 10 years ago when they started trying to get a version of a drama that's about the Wuyue region and Wudai Shiguodang, and it took 10 years for it to finally show up today. So it's not something that just got like suddenly somebody had an idea. It's been in planning and in long time preparation, and they hired multiple different writers to do it, and a lot of hiccups in the middle until finally this thing got done. But even this version you see is a script that got written by, like, took 3 years to write the current script. But before that, there was like in hands of multiple different writers who just couldn't really get it down. Eventually they got to this guy who took 3 years to write the current version. So it's like a pretty long project. And you're not gonna get it every year in China like this these days. You get one in 5 years, you kind of like consider it to be lucky. So that one is Swords into Plowshares. I will talk more about it later. Currently the other one that's airing is same day when it aired Born to Be Alive. That is on iQIYI also. Is it on CCTV? I think so. And it's about the Tibetan antelope with Hu Ge and Yangzi. That one I've been watching too. And then the more recent one on the 3rd, they aired The Truth. I was watching that one too. For the other ones, for 生命树, Born to Be Alive, I'd say if you're really curious about what life is like in the 90s, or what the job of creating a national reserve area for wildlife in China, in Tibet, you can go and take a look at like what it's like. It's 正午阳光, so it's very proper realism contemporary drama with 80%. If they're not Tibetan actors, then you know who they are because they show up in every 正午阳光 drama. It's the old familiar faces of so many people, and I mean they really did shoot the whole thing up there. I don't know how they did it, but it's incredibly difficult environment to shoot and looks epic, and it's real. It's not green screened, so it does make a difference when you see the real sort of like open plateau, desolate land, hundreds of miles out, nothing, like you can't see humans, you can't see civilization, and it's pretty incredible view wise. Story wise, it's okay. I'm not super impressed by the acting of for example Yangzi. I mean, I wouldn't say it's bad, but compared to the other actors like Mei Ting, like Hu Ge, or a couple of like the 正午阳光 people, and even the Tibetan actors, right? She really doesn't look like she belongs. It's like she doesn't really belong to the environment. She's like she never fully kind of integrated into that drama space. but it's still watchable. It's just like sometimes you can watch it more like a radio play. When it really gets like to the point where people are like shooting guns and in blizzard trying to survive, it looks exciting. You can look at the screen. Other times when they're just talking, you may not have to stare at the screen all the time, but it's still a proper drama. I think it's not doing super well rating wise, and it's just what it is. I mean, these days it's very hard to get any Chinese drama that gets super popular and high viewed. It's like a bet, a gamble. You don't quite know what works, but something works, something don't. The Gongjun drama, I watched it until yesterday's episode. It is just a very typical police drama of cases after cases. People go and break them. That's it. And then our main character has like their personal storyline that hasn't fully opened up yet. So you don't quite know exactly, what's going on, but you kind of have a picture of like roughly what's going on. It's again watchable, but it's not impressive. Now I do know because it's based on a real policeman, a real technician in police department who specialized in trace analysis, and he wrote lots of books. So all the procedure wise of like how you go and deal with the crime scene, how you take evidence, how you process them, what is the the detailed technique things about all the details about police work, right? That's probably more reliable than most of the other police drama you see in China, due to it is really based on a real policeman's work. But in terms of like, if you don't think about that way, you think about it just as a dramatic storytelling, is it like as a case-breaking story that exciting? Not necessarily. It's not anything more exciting story plot-wise than the Luo Yunxi drama that happened before this one, which is, I think, is also on Youku, right? The what? Like Bojian. Whatever, like I can't remember the English title, but it's him and Liu Yase and Jiang Qilin. I've watched parts of that drama too. It's not that different in terms of, as a viewer, when I watch a case-breaking drama, how intrigued I am about the cases. It's not that different. So I wouldn't say dramatic detective story wise it is that well done that to make you like want to page turning, kind of like really curious about what happens. Not really, unfortunately, I think. But it's not too bad either. It's like, okay, I can watch it, but if I don't watch it, I don't feel like I lose anything. So Gongjun's drama, the Gongjun-led drama, The Truth, is what I feel like roughly what that police drama is like. I took a very brief look at No Pain No Gain. It doesn't quite, like, I couldn't get too much of like what is so special about, or I don't feel like I'm pulled in. So I think I watched one episode and I stopped and I didn't go back. There are a couple of other things that's ongoing I know I should check out, I just don't have time. And today we get two more period dramas with Bai Lu, Wang Xingyue, and Wang Churen and Cheng Lei. I am like, my brain is, I don't know how I'm gonna deal with this. Bai Lu's new drama literally showed up like a few hours ago. Visually, it looks okay. Story-wise, I have no idea. And personally speaking, I don't have high hopes. Because when I see Bai Lu and Zhao Qing, and also Wang Xingyue showing up in the same drama, right? It's like, Yu Zheng team has never really produced a story that impressed me. That's the thing. For all the years that Yu Zheng has been doing dramas, right? In Chinese dramaland, he's yet to make a drama just on a script level, characters level, the storytelling level that made me feel I want to sit down and watch, regardless of who the faces are of the actors. Just the story. He has yet to write and create a drama, or like a drama that's his people doing, that gives me that kind of, okay, the story is worth watching, if not anything. So when I see Bai Lu, Zhao Qing, and Wang Xingyue showing up in the same drama, I already am like, the best it can do is not offend me, probably. I have zero hope. Sorry, but I've been taught by by experience too many times to know not to put any high hopes in that type of production. So to me, it's like I will, after the live stream, go and check it out for a bit and see if it's you know, something that's worth going, like, keep watching. But if it's not, I would not be surprised at all. It would be like totally expected. 成何体统, I'm slightly more curious because it's ridiculous. It's a very ridiculous setup. It's like, just the setup itself will remind you a little bit of like a dream within a dream, where both leads are like contemporary people who just got trapped in this, and they kind of had to do it in the story's world to put on the performance for all the story world NPC as the emperor and the whatever concubine or queen, but in reality it's like they're trying to figure out how to get back and get out of it. So it's comedy. It's like just literally throw in your face comedy. If it's really good comedy, it's like fun entertainment. It will be much more interesting than those like serious period dramas that just tries to make themselves look way too serious than necessary. So I don't know, like, I'm slightly more interested in that one as of now that I haven't yet really checked out either of them. So it may change tomorrow. Loving Stranger, I watched a little bit. First is it's very gloomy. It's a very gloomy drama, from color, right, to everything. You can sense from day one, like first shot, gloomy drama. And I know it's based on a Korean drama, and I watched a little bit. I really couldn't quite get its domestication, like how they adapt it to China and whether it works in our country in the same way. I don't necessarily think so. Also, I do not think, based on what I've seen, the direction, the productions of the people who are telling this story is as good or even close to the original, like the Korean drama. How it was, the two actors were brilliant, but also just the team, the director who shot it. Like, they know what is the core of the story that really grabs people's attention, like the gripping part of the story. And they do it in every shot of their design, so that the storytelling is totally like, our priority is to capture that energy, that core of our story. Everything else is second priority, including making, for example, leads looking good in every shot, or making you feel, oh, impressive, they can act. So the camera work of the original Korean drama is basically a lot more like matured kind of drama making angle, like story first, everything else later. Whereas the Chinese version is not on par. I mean, I that's my opinion. So I watched a little bit of Loving Strangers. I don't think it's anywhere close to the original Korean drama. So if you've watched the Korean drama, don't watch the Chinese version one. You've already seen the better version. Basically, you don't need to watch the Chinese version one, basically. That's my opinion. Unveil Jade Wing. Yeah, I'm like, people, just make a normal name. That is not pretentious, but that is not super like dictionary reading either. Just like, who knows what you mean by unveil jade winged? Jade is a stone. It does not wind anything, or, you know, like, it's very frustrating to see Chinese dramas having like weird English titles. That does not make sense. So if you've watched the Korean original of Loving Stranger, right, don't watch the Chinese version. Not worth your time. You still have watched the better one. It's a pity, but hey, not surprised. Not surprised. Chinese drama making these days are very much like kidnapped and hijacked by a lot of things that are 场外因素, the elements outside of the arena. So it's not just about the drama, just about telling stories. Everything else outside of it is manipulating too much of what happens on the arena. From actors' performances to like how you position a lead actor or actress, because you have to consider like what's their public image, what's their fandom, you know. And also like fandom has so much like they are so entitled that they think they can just like come in and do whatever. It's like, can we just get a proper story and actors doing their proper job? And basically actors get too much money, too much attention, they get too exposed and important, and people give too much a shit about what they do, and it all sort of end up in kind of influence the production result and quality of what you get at the end. That's Chinese drama's conditions. Let's see. Unclouded Soul. Nope, I haven't. I know it's Tan Songyun and Hong Minhao, right? First is Xianxia. That kind of Xianxia is like 玄幻, or it's not really a cup of tea for me these days, right? It's been years. I kind of like get really tired of that kind of genre. Also, when I see Hong Minhao as a male lead, I'm not interested at all, because although he has a pretty like okay looking face that I can look at, his acting never, like I never connect to his acting. To me his acting is, to me, like it doesn't do anything. It's like 0% of effect on me. I do not care about the characters he plays. I never have one moment of like emotional connection or visceral feeling when he's on screen doing whatever. Like he's just like good to look at, but like nothing happens. So when I know he's in another period idol drama, like and the fantasy drama, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like I have no motivation. I'm not a fan of his. Like it's not like the type of person like just because he's in it, I'm gonna go and check his acting or whatever. So I'm like, it's him, so yeah, whatever. And then Tan Songyun, I feel really sad. Is like she at this age of her, like as she gets older, right, she's still playing little girl kind of character. You can't do that forever. I know she has a baby face. She's very baby face person, and compared to other actresses, she probably can pull the baby face card for longer, but it's not gonna be indefinite. And I just feel sometimes I don't need to look at her being a young, lively, bubbly girl again. I've seen her doing that a million times. And I don't think she's going to provide, again, anything else I haven't seen before in this arena of hers. So, and also, yeah, fantasy idol period. I'm getting old, I know, sorry. Can't stop it, I'm aging. You know, like, I don't eat stuff to keep me young forever, unlike certain elites of certain countries that are doing weird things. So I inevitably age, and I think I'm just not in the same mindset as I started this channel. Like back in the days, I could still stomach quite a few like fantasy idol dramas and be like totally fine with like gods flying everywhere, immortals destroying the world for their own love affairs. These days I look at that, I'm like, this is so stupid, I can't do it. I'm not saying people who like it are stupid, okay? We're just kind of in different zones of our own life, and it either kind of syncs with you or it just no longer vibes with you. So you can't necessarily stomach and take it unless it's like really unusual or groundbreaking and different from what I've seen before. Otherwise, I feel like yeah, I've had enough of that genre. It's just me. At least I'm being honest. Film Unexpected Family. No, I haven't. Jackie Chan. I haven't watched his stuff for years. Yeah, because I haven't finished watching the Chinese Loving Strangers too. For person who are asking this, I would recommend you check out the Korean version because it's really good. From everyone I've ever talked about who's watched that drama, although I haven't watched it fully, I've watched snippets of it. From everybody I've ever heard, like who's watched this drama, they say it's a very, very good drama. So I would recommend you go and check it out. And it's sad to watch it these days now because, you know, like the lead actor is Scarlet Heart. Yes, yes, yes. Korean adapted that from the Chinese version. Yeah. Same writer of drama Lost You Forever. Yes. Yes, 童话. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the original, like the book, is from the same guy, same person, the lady who wrote 步步惊心 Scarlet Heart, who also wrote what's the English? What's the Chinese name? I can't even remember. The 杨紫、张晚意、谭健次、邓为 drama, right? She wrote the original stories of them. 长相思? Is it 长相思? Can't remember. Back from the Brink. I watched a couple of episodes. I couldn't quite get it. Like, I feel like Lu Yuxiao is actually quite pretty. Like, more pretty than I imagined she would ever be in period dramas. But I think that's the only thing that impressed me. I feel like the drama is so forcing these two to, like, it's doing this kiss thing, right? They grab the head of the female lead, grab the head of the male lead, smash their mouths together. The drama's telling is so trying to push it happening. It does not make logical sense for that drama, the first couple of episodes, based on what has happened to the female lead from the beginning. And how she immediately switched from this, like, totally wronged person who's done so much for their kingdom, whatever, and then being cussed it out and then totally destroyed. And then she immediately goes to, like, the entertainment house and pretend to be one of those girls. And, like, I mean, like, come on. Are you not a human? Or not like a believable sentient beings? Are you just, like, totally a tool for narrative purposes to like, let's immediately go into sprinkle sugar? So I watched first couple of episodes of that drama and it does not convince me. I don't believe in the character. I don't believe in the logic of the things people do in the story. I think it's just so eager to go to the moment where the two leads can stare at each other in short, like in slow motions and do stupid romantic tropes that I've seen a million times. I feel like it's not respecting the characters, really. Even the writer doesn't give a shit to the mental health of our main characters. So I don't feel it's genuine work. I just, like, watched a bit. I'm like, no, it does not convince me. Goodbye. That's for that one. That happened earlier. The period fantasy drama where both Ho Minghao and Lu Yixiao actually both of them look really pretty. Okay, but the story is like, no. Oh no, from background is the one with Zhou Ye. Back from the Brink is one of Zhou Ye. Like, if like I was saying the one, like, I can't remember the Chinese titles and Chinese, like, English titles even, because there are too many. But I'm saying the one with Lu Yixiao and Ho Minghao. If you're saying another one, Zhou Ye, did Zhou Ye do any drama with him? I don't think so. Because she did one with Chen Lei. She did one with Wang Xingyue. Who else did she do dramas with? Like, there's one with Xu Kai that hasn't aired. I mean, there are too many people that look the same, that are in the similar dramas in Chinese drama. And even for me, who's been, like, doing Chinese drama news for, like, what? Trying to remember. 9 years, right? I'm like, sometimes I stop and I can't remember because it's all just all jumbled together. Everybody is the same. These days also, the stars, the girls and the boys, they all look similar. You know how funny it is, how many times I go in Google and I search for the photos of the actors and they give me photos of similar looking people in Chinese drama. Like, Google can't even tell. You don't know how funny, how often it happens. It's like I type in the Chinese drama actor's name and it gives me photos of people, obviously his or her photo, but also people who look similar to her. And Google cannot tell. I'm like, oh my God. There are also too many dramas called, like, Reborn, Rebirth. I don't know which Rebirth it is. It's like too many dramas called Blossom. Like, I've given up. Like, you have to tell me more. Otherwise, I'm like, I don't know which Blossom. It's like a whole, like two hands of blossoms now. Tan Jianci movie. I heard about that one. I should go and watch it. I haven't. I know that one. I know that one. It happened like in during October, right? Like the last year, the National Day holiday slot. Sound of Silence. Yes, that's the English name of the Chinese movie that's led by Tan Jianci and Len Xia. Imperial Corner 2. I've watched it till like almost finished. So they were in the case where they pretty much the poison like basically the second prince died, but then they figure out he didn't die, like he's pretending he's dead. I got to that point and then I got carried away by everything else that happens. And plus I have to do games. I'm like, I had no time. I should go and finish watching it. But I do feel like I do realize a lot of people were complaining about things of second seasons that they were like, it's not as satisfying as the first one. I should go and finish it. I know, like my brain can't deal with too many things at the same time. I was at that point when they realized he's not dead. He's actually alive, and he's like, basically he faked his own death, right? And he got away, and then yeah. I mean, he's doing a good job. Like, I'm pretty happy with this actor's performance. I think this is the first time I noticed him after Fairy and Devil. After Fairy and Devil, I know he's in a couple of other things, but I haven't really noticed what he's been doing. At least for his acting and for his character in Corner 2, I think he's overall, like, better than I expected. And doing pretty well, and looks good, too. Although, yeah, I have to say, I do need to finish it. I mean, the Chen Xingxu, Wang Yuwen drama that suddenly dropped, it's like suddenly, right? Suddenly, its drama itself is called Suddenly something. I watched a few episodes of that too, and didn't continue. I finished the Lu Yuxiao and Chen Xingxu drama, the romantic one, where it's like they're in this 剧本杀 game, and then they're in architecture firm. I finished that one. I'm like, oh, so it's okay. But then again, like in 3 months' time, I'm gonna completely forget about its existence. It's just contemporary romantic drama that it's pretty nice to look at, but then you're not gonna remember it forever. Nothing outstanding. Zhou Ye and Zhang Jingyi, yeah, because if you look at their front, like just this type of like photo, they have high similarity in terms of proportion, where basically everything is like eyebrows, eyes, mouth, they're all in the same position. So it's very easy to kind of like think of them as similar. But as long as you're in the 3-dimensional space, if you have a camera that's moving around them and you see the person in 3-dimensional space, their bone structure are actually quite different. As long as you move to like 45-degree angle or any angle that's like in profile, you will not mix them up together. They actually have two very different type of bone structure, face, I'd say. So Zhang Jingyi and Zhou Ye only look like similar this way. Once they turn, they don't look the same at all. There's actually quite a bit difference of their like bone quality. The skull is very different. Immortality. Can no one release? No, they can't. They can't. Okay, just don't dream about releasing it. Not in China, but outside of China. Unless the production company wants to get banned forever in China. That's how it works. Is you make this drama, it's a Chinese-made drama. So it has to go through Chinese censorship. Even when you go like sell it to foreign land, it has to actually first go through, and then if it hasn't actually gone through and it gets sold foreign and it actually airs, then this company that did it will be banned in China. That's how it works. So unless the production company wants to get themselves banned, it's not gonna happen. Okay, so it's gonna be very complicated for these things. Oh, Love Between the Lines. Love Between the Lines has a lot of like non-Chinese songs. right? They pick like those like very atmospherical English whatever song to like. I know, I get it, like the very very like bourgeoisie and dreamy and pretty. It's fine. It's totally okay to do that, but it's never gonna like highly impress me. And it's very scratch the surface romantic story. And frankly speaking, it's kind of conflict between the male lead and female lead is very superficial and forced. It does not sell in reality at all. It does not sell, basically. I don't believe its validity of how like her father has a problem with like them together, but then also got over it pretty quickly because the daughter really liked the guy. And also like because the guy is his dad is not really to be blamed because the bad guy is always the other person, right? It's so simple, and it's also so does not work like that in reality. Even how architects work in reality, and how everybody looks so good and well slept in the drama in an architecture firm. I'm like, yeah, you're so trying to convince somebody who went through 4 years of architecture school, right? Like that's how people live in this profession. Also, my dad is an architect, so I know, okay? I know. And I look at the drama, I'm like, yeah, not gonna believe 1 second of it. It's so far from reality. It's nice, it's dreamy, it's like, yeah, for fun, okay, fine. But once I put it down, I'm never gonna pick it up or rewatch, or like I'm gonna forget about it in no time, because it is what it is. It's like fast food. You get it, you're happy for the time you're eating it, and then that's it. No, because I did landscape architecture, and I did it as a master's degree, and I had to do 2 years of the undergrad, the last 2 years of their undergrad, and then 2 years of the postgrad stuff. So if you are from that program, from the first year of undergrad, you only do like 4 years of undergrad and then 2 years of that postgraduate. But if you come in from a different background, you're not from the undergrad program, then you have to do 4 years of the postgrad. So my 4 years, my post-graduation for landscape architecture is actually 4 years. It's not very nice, okay? I don't think it has gotten through censorship, because after the thing that happened in 2021, basically all dramas that hasn't gotten through any censorship all got halted. Like they all got pulled stop. It's not even like they don't even get submitted, because it's like we're not doing it now. So it pretty much is like at the point, if you have gotten through censorship, which I think is the case of the Zhang Xingcheng and Fu Xinbo's drama, because they aired it on Youku because technically the drama already got the license, and then the shit happened. But it still affected the drama. When they released a couple of episodes, it got immediately taken down, and then for 2 years nothing happened, right? But because technically speaking has already gotten through censorship before that ban happened, so it got sold to Japan, and it can be sold to Japan because technically it is like procedure wise it has gone through that procedure, so it can. But things that haven't gone through that thing maybe got called back or whatever. I don't know exactly what happens because these things don't get like publicized, but it would be stupid for them to try to like go around China censorship and say we just do it outside of again thinking like there's gonna be no repercussions. It would be silly to think that way. So 时也命也, this is fate. Love me if you dare. Love me if you, 他来请闭眼. I don't know, like particularly that one, right? Now I look back on it, I will laugh because it's so fake. It's highly sort of imaginative kind of crime, kind of like what it's extremely weirdly fitting for Chinese circumstances. In terms of how Chinese society works, how case breaking works, how detective works, how crime, like the overall atmosphere of things, it's highly like a very imagined kind of script in a very hollowed out and lifted up from ground kind of a world that people speak Chinese, but it's not China at all, and it's odd. Now I look back on like love the If You Dare drama, Ma Sichun, 马思纯, 霍建华, right? Now if I look, I remember that drama, but now if I watch it, I probably will laugh a lot. I just wouldn't be able to take it seriously enough, I think, because it's so not China. Yet everybody is speaking Chinese. It's odd. It's like your brain kind of like cannot quite take it. Also, Ma Sichun, it's her early days. I think in her acting period of that time, she's not fully what she's like now. Her character and particularly her performance is sometimes like, I would be laughing basically. I wouldn't be able to take it seriously. Dai Xu, yeah, he's a pretty good actor. I don't worry about him because I think he's gonna be in acting for years to come. And I would say actually he plays a better, like he performs better than Chen Xingxu in the Love Between Lines. Because when he shows up, the one good thing about Dai Xu is he knows how to immediately make audiences get what kind of character he is. So in that drama, when he shows up, you immediately kind of figure out what kind of person he is. He's very accurate in trying to delivering that impression to the audiences. And he's very different from the different kind of characters he plays in different dramas. When you think about, for example, the drama he did, like the period drama, like Dream of Splendor, or the one he did with Zhang Yunlong last year in the Fire Brigade kind of like investigation drama. Those are very different characters. It's still his face. But then, like, because he can very easily get the audiences kind of immediately figure out what kind of like character he is, it's like he's just very gives you the feeling like he actually is much older and experienced than his real age in terms of being an actor. He has a quite good idea also of how people would perceive him, so how he should sell to their perception of what he's doing. I really think he's a very good actor. I mean, yes, he's the supporting role, and usually speaking, strongly personality, the supporting role is easier actually to do than the main lead role in a romantic drama. Usually the main lead is the kind of like the morality scent and usually not so edgy and interesting. So Chen Xingxu's character is like too typical and nothing new, and he's not bad, but in comparison to Dai Xu's character in Love Between Lines, I actually always find Dai Xu's character more interesting. I mean, even as a person, right, in real life, right, I'd be much more interesting to have a conversation with Dai Xu's character than having a conversation with Chen Xingxu's character. That's just how these two people like vibes in the drama, and I think it's just Dai Xu is a very good actor. Yeah, yes, he's probably never gonna be the absolute center of focus male lead character because he doesn't have that face. It's considered to be traditionally super handsome, but he's gonna be there. Like, as long as he doesn't fuck up, which can happen to all, you know, celebrities and actors in Chinese drama land. It's just the way it is, and it's so easy for it to corrupt. But as long as he doesn't, I feel like he has like what 20, 30, 40 years to come to play all kinds of roles. So I'm not worried about him. It's actually Goldilocks zone, I think, for actors, which is you're famous enough, but you're not too famous. You're not always the leading actor. Often you're just the supporting or the main supporting. Actually, that's the best way to exist because you potentially can have a very long career and very little trouble, and actually enough money and enough freedom too. Like, you have like the golden of every aspect of being an actor. Yeah, the medical drama with Zhang Bingbing, right? 未大勋孙谦, I should watch. I know, it's on my list. I need to binge it. I've already decided to binge it in one day. I'm still looking for that one day. Yet now I have like 5 dramas on my hand I need to also watch. How am I gonna do it? I don't know. Like, I need another head and 48 hours a day, or because today after this, I have 12 episodes waiting for me, something like that, even more. And those are just ongoing dramas, which I have to watch every freaking day. On top of that, I need to binge that like 14 episodes drama with Wei Daxun. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I really want to get it done, but I would have to watch it when I shower. That's how impossible it is to get everything watched. Changlong. Changlong is even more restricted, I think, to comedy than Daixu. Because it's very hard to imagine Changlong being actually very serious, because he's almost always doing comedy. Whereas Daixu has done characters that are not comedy. And you can, and when he has that, you know, like he has psychopath potential. His face and the way he can switch, he can actually have like very wide range of like really lovely, happy comedy guy, but also like psychopath in a neighborhood who has a dungeon in their basement, you know, who kills people there. Like he can totally do that too. Daixu is, the real age does not matter that much. I think it's the perception age. People think he's not that young. Or people cannot tell how old he is. He has like a very hard to pin down age thing, which is actually good for actors. That means you can like stretch it. So what else? I mean, I can like, let me know what you want to hear. Like I can talk a little bit more about like Swords into Plowshares due to history, like it's talking about history and then current plot, and then yeah, Chinese version of Where Winds Meet is heading into the palace tomorrow. On Friday, they're gonna open the palace map, which I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna go and see it, even though my Chinese server character is barely up leveled to anything. Daixu in Burning Ice is hot. I think like both leads are pretty hot in that drama, and it's hot drama because it's fire. It's literally hot, like in every sense. So for people who catch live first time, hi. Hello, you must be like a late founder of like, you must recently just discover my channel because this is the 74th time I've live streamed. I don't know. I can talk a little bit about Swords into Plowshares. Today episode has gotten to the point where the Guo family has taken over. So we're in the last one before Song comes over, the dynasty wise. For the 5 dynasties in the Middle Kingdom, we're in Houzhou now. So Guo Wei took over, and he's gonna be on throne for a few years, and then he's gonna die, and then Chai Rong or Guo Rong is gonna take over, which is the Yu Haoming character, and he's gonna be on throne for like 4 or 5 years, and then he's gonna die. And that will be, then after that, it will be Zhu Yawen's character Zhao Guangyin, and finally we get a Song. Finally we get a big dynasty that's gonna exist for like about 300 years. So Persona drama among the short suspense drama, Guilty and Persona are the ones. I don't know which one it is, Persona. What's the Chinese name? If there is one. If it's Chinese drama and it has one. For Swords into Plowshares, if you're watching, you know, already Bai Yu's character is the king of Wu Yue. He has just become the king yesterday, I think, in the episode, because 6 brother dies and 7 got pushed up, and then he's not really good at dealing with the subjects in court, and kind of messed it up with Hu Jingsi, which literally got himself like kicked off the throne. And then number 9 got pushed on to the throne, and that's Bai Yu's character. So he's gonna be the Wu Yue king for the next, in the drama's time, next 30 years pretty much. So once he got on the throne, he was the ruler for pretty much 30 years until 978, when he gave his kingdom to Song, to Zhu Yawen's brother character. Yeah, younger brother. So that would be the next 15 episodes of the drama, because it's 48 in total. For the next 15, you have to go from this point until 30 years later, which means they're gonna have to rush it a lot. Or they're gonna spend a lot of time actually talking about later Zhou and Zhao Kuan-yin take over. And after Zhao Kuan-yin take over, actually it's gonna be short. And they're gonna very quickly go to the part where, like 17 years later, after Zhao Kuan-yin took the throne, Wu Yue got to sort of incorporate it into Song. I don't know how they're gonna plan out the timeline of the story, but right now we are at the point where the last 5 dynasties is on. Gao Ye and Chen Jingke. Oh, I know there is a drama like that. Yeah, the Gao Ye drama. You see how many dramas are there? Like, I know, but I haven't had time to watch. I know that one. Historical, yeah, I've said earlier, historical accuracy is good enough. It's not 100%, but it never will be. For dramas, there are all kinds of reasons for it to not be. So Guo Rong or Chai Rong, depending on how you name him, because he's his adopted son from the Guo Wei, and they were very close. They're like a real daddy and son. It's just like he's not really blood-wise related to his father. So when he got the throne, most likely he actually, when he was on the throne, he never changed his surname to Chai, back to Chai, because Chai is his real name and Guo is the adopted father's name. Although there's like no 100% solid kind of confirmation that is the case, after his death, when Song took over, Song dynasties tend to refer to Zhou dynasty's ruler as of him as Chai Rong. So they call him Chai Rong. They all their descendants are having the Chai surname, and then it's not really Guo. Like, so Song dynasty tends to refer to Chai Rong as Chai Rong, whereas when he was himself on throne, whether he immediately sort of like went and changed his surname to Chai, is not actually confirmed at all. Most likely he didn't. Most likely he still stayed as Guo Rong, but then after his death, right, later history would call him Chai Rong. That's like how it is. Exactly why, who knows, like a lot of things didn't get fully recorded or explained or having full evidence, but it is true that he is adopted. He has a Guo name for most of his time in his life, and then I mean as adopted dad and son goes, these two are pretty successful pair, right? They didn't like hate each other. There's no like murdering and crazy thing happening. They were pretty close as like real parents and kid. And because Wu Dai Shiguo was so chaotic, so bad, and so commonly people just die off, that there were a lot of like uncle to nephew, like even to like in-laws, and then adopted dad and father like passing, throwing stuff around, because it was so volatile and people die so easily that you just don't have the luxury of like thinking through a lineage, because you are not gonna get one tomorrow. Like literally people just die off. So it's very realistic for the period of time in history where adopted relationships actually kind of gets recognized as it's okay, like you can take over, because it happens all the time. Because it's a very missed in that period of history. Not even many Chinese people are very familiar with, because it's too complicated. It's so chaotic, right? It's like one person sits on the throne, right? And a couple of months later, another person comes over and it's another name. And then a couple of years later, it's another person. It kept like doing this. So, and it happens within like half a century's time. Therefore, in Chinese perspective, when we think about dynasties, it's usually 200-300 years a turn, right? So when you have that one period that has like so many powers and so many surnames and kingdom names, and it keeps changing, you just give up. You're like, I can't figure out this, like I can't remember this. Move on to the next whole period where we can sit down and just like, for the next 300 years, right? The kingdom is this kingdom and it's run by this family. So like you can go and have tea. Whereas when you look at 5 dynasties, 10 kingdoms, it's like, what a mess. Unless you like super ADHD, like cranked up, like you can't even pay enough attention to all the moving parts of that period, because everything is like, it's insane. It's insanity history. But on the other hand, you can say the people who stopped at that era, ended that era of utter pure unbelievable chaos, are a legend. So you can say basically Chai Rong or Guo Rong, and then the next one who would be Zhao Kuangying, right? These two are, I'd say, Chinese people who look back in history should thank their existence. Because if it weren't these two people who managed to finally stop that like horse going completely off track, and the whole sort of like China is like completely utterly in chaos and shit, who knows what's gonna happen afterwards? Would China literally disappear from history because of how bad it was at the time, and then no one can be strong enough to unify everything and keep it stable and keep the population growing back? Would it be the end of the China? It could be. If it wasn't for first like the Guo Wei and then Chai Rong or Guo Rong and then Zhao Kuangying, who kind of like, these 3 people really like managed to stop the collapse of everything and would put everything back into order. Because Wudai Shiguo got really bad. Got to the point where people don't believe in anything now. It's like Wild West, but it's like times 10 of like the Wild West of US, right? And then everyone has completely given up morals, teachings of like anything. Like everyone is like out for blood. And it got to the kind of, cannibalism thing, right, of the Chinese period of history intensively in 5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms. It becomes a normal thing for armies to not carrying food with them, because they go to a place, they just murder everyone. They eat what it's like that place's people's stuff, and they eat people. And it got really bad for those half a century. And from the end of Tang, late 800s, it started to get really bad. And during then, after that, about like a century, so pretty much in late 800s to, you can say, about after middle 900s, right? It's kind of like all very, very, very chaotic. China's human population has decreased by how many? Because within 100 years' time, I think population was like died out for like more than half, even more than that. Huge number of like reduced population, and completely abandoned agriculture in most areas. It was like pretty much nightmare situation. So although people these days often argue which emperor is the most famous military emperor of Chinese history, whether it's Han Wudi, or whether it's Tang Taizong, or whether it's Song Taizu, which is these 3 people, right? They all exist at very different time of history. It's impossible to fairly compare them. And often, Tang Zong, Song Zu are put together. Tang Taizong, which is the emperor you see in Chang Ge Xing, like the Dili Roba drama with Wu Lei. He is like famous for being a military genius, and very young, but very good at dealing with that and then directing battles and a genius in that. And he started a very, very prosperous dynasty of Tang. So in every sense, he's one of the most successful emperor of Chinese history, who is also very much a military man. So he often gets like put together in the word Tangzong Songzu as the Tang starter. He's not necessarily a starter, his dad is, but he's kind of like, you know, really the one that counts when it started. And then Zhao Kuangying is Songzu, is the Song dynasty founder. He's also a military man. And what he was facing is very different from, I'd say, what Tang, like back in the days when Tang dynasty got found. Because Wu Dai Shiguo was Li Bu Yue Huai, and then it was a people eating people era of other chaos. And so, although Song in many ways was not militarily as strong as Tang, and as impressive and as big sized as Tang in terms of how big the empire covers, people often forget about what a absolute mess the world, like the world was around Song's founder Zhao Kuangying when he was there. The fact that he stopped all that and managed to have a unified kingdom for a long time, like set it up, was pretty impressive. His dynasty never got as big or never got as like powerful militarily as Tang, but he got it out of a hellhole. What? It wasn't as bad when Tang Taizong started his like enterprise. Although, you know, Sui Mo is not nice too, but compare to Wu Dai Shiguo, the 5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms, you know. So you can say Zhao Kuangying actually is probably more underrated than overrated in terms of his military achievement and stuff, given the time he was in. And also, there's one thing that is pretty much everybody agrees is if Tang Zong, which is the Tang Taizong, the Tang dynasty emperor, and Song Taizu, Zhao Kuangying, if these two people can exist at the same time, if they do a like one-on-one fist battle, Zhao Kuangying is gonna win. That's for sure. Zhao Kuangying is gonna win. That is, nobody argues about that, because Zhao Kuangying is very famous, historically known as if he's in the wuxia novel, he'd be like on top list of his generation. That level of really good martial arts man. And that's no argument, because he is famous for having that staff called Panlong Gun, which is he has a staff which he fights with, and it's like his staff beats everyone down. Like no one can beat his staff. That's how well known in history he is, just as a single-handedly battle like fighting person. Depending on how you calculate population deduction, like in the Tang, like late Tang to Wu Dai Shiguo, like which section you look at, right? Because population would fluctuate. It will reduce, it will grow in certain area, it will reduce in other area, and also it's like thousands of years ago. How accurate the numbers would be for you to actually know today. But what you do know is a lot of historical record would say like whole towns, cities, villages like completely die out. And then the bones would just would be laid open on the ground and like being eaten by birds and wildlife, and like cities get completely cut down and destroyed. That was a common thing for Wu Dai Shiguo. I think they've done a good enough job in terms of script writing. It's not perfect, probably will never be. Because it's actually a really interesting angle they picked. For one thing is Zhejiang province probably really want to promote their own culture. Therefore, the story is on the Wuyue, which is a tiny kingdom compared to the Song and then all the other bigger countries at the time, kingdoms. And they're not well known enough in history. Qian family and their history is not well known because they're very small. No matter how successfully in terms of their ruling of that 70 years when they're around, economic-wise and then politically, whatever-wise, they did well among other chaos. Every other kingdom was like having a lot more bloodshed and wars and battles and stuff than Wuyue. Wuyue was like the only surviving sort of safe haven during that period. but it's still too small. So for a lot of contemporary even people who are not very familiar with that part of history, they know little. So when you try to, and so therefore they have relatively not that much historical record of Weird Kingdom today. Definitely less than the Middle Kingdom. So when you write a story, you have a lot of creative license, but also you have to think about how you're gonna write a story still be like attractive and interesting enough if those characters are all new to audiences. Because people are very familiar with Zhao Kuang-yin, like the first emperor of Song Dynasty. They're very familiar with the Song Dynasty, the Middle Kingdom people, but they're very, very unfamiliar with all the weird people that they have no idea of. So, but your center of focus and narrative is on this small kingdom. How do you sell it, basically, to make people want to know the story, right? That's one hard thing to do. And also, one of the angles, I think, from the creative people's perspective is 帝王将相, all the emperors, famous ones in Chinese history, are too famous to Chinese people. Everybody knows who Han Wudi or Tang Taizong or Song Taizu is. Every kid knows that. Therefore, they're too... First is they're too familiar. There's nothing new you can do that nobody has seen. The second is this whole narrative of like history is created or made by those couple of important people is not really in line with the sort of like Chinese government or like our belief really of what makes history. Because what we do, I think, advocate is you have to look at history as it is actually made by people, which is very different from a lot of other countries' perspective on history. But Chinese people insist, and we always emphasize, history is made by every people, every commoner who doesn't have a name recorded in history. That's people-made history, not the couple of like visible stars. And therefore, it's interesting if you shift your focus from the famous historical person that everyone knows, like Song Taizu, move to a relatively lesser known group of people of a smaller kingdom and their specific world and what they did, and then what they were famous for and then remembered for, which is they actually did a lot of work for their people as ancient imperial time ruler who had extremely, I'd say, advanced and very humane kind of view on like, I'm the ruler of my land, what I should be doing for my people. So they want to pick that angle and also just like find really in history there are this family that did this. And kind of depart from the traditional historical drama of emperors and generals and militaries, of wars and then having a huge empire and all is cool. When it's all built upon, right, millions and millions of people's work and death and blood. So that's why I think Swords into Plowshares is like made. One of the reasons is they want to do a historical that is more on this side of the storytelling than that kind of narrative on history stuff. Yeah. And the interesting thing about this is because Wu Kingdom existed from 907 to 978, and its capital was in current Hangzhou. After that, it got incorporated into Song. And the funny thing that kind of shows history is truly made by people is because of the Qian family, the kingdom's ruler, were relatively speaking compared to every other ruler, were the good ones, the ones who really pretty much put the people and the stable, sort of like how stable the economy of the commoners at the time under their ruling as a priority, than say anything that, you know, make themselves feel good about being a ruler, because they've done so much for their people and also given up their own kingdom so that nobody has to go through wars. It would not go through like a big kingdom comes down and then just kill all the people and then sack your city. All that happens. They stopped that from, like, they prevented it from happening. They peacefully transferred their power to Song Dynasty and the Zhao family. So make sure that the whole region never got any damage in any way when that happened. For what they've given up as their as the ruler family basically given up their kingdom and their ruling throne to a bigger power, to make sure that the people in the kingdom never suffers because of their decision, they were remembered after, even till today, after more than 1,000 years. You can still go to Hangzhou and find quite a few temples that are built for commemorating the Qian family, the Qian royals. And even till today, people go and visit and they put incense on. They are still there, like after more than 1,000 years, because the local people remembered. Because of that time, it's really normal to have absolute shitty rulers that just makes everyone pay for their stupid mistake and get the whole kingdom wiped out. But didn't happen to Wu Yue. Therefore, the Hangzhou people always remember that. Even till today, they still have those temples. And it's still there. They don't have temples for the Song dynasty rulers. The Hangzhou people, they don't have any for like the Zhao family, no. But they have temples for Qian family. So, you know, kind of like... it shows, you know, like real history, you know, like it matters what you've done, right? It means that to people. So they remember, even after 1,000 years. Another thing that's really interesting is... I would say if you look from like Buddhism point of view, right, karma, because what they've done, essentially the ruler could choose not to do that, but they did. They put the people in front of themselves. As a result, Wu Yue didn't suffer, and the Qian family lost their throne. They were treated pretty well by the Song court because they were one of those kingdoms that really like did it all right and not giving Song any trouble when they pass over the power. Not only are themselves not really treated in any way badly after they gave the power, the Qian family actually, their descendants did very well in history, even till today. And it's absolutely magical, really, that in modern history, Chinese history, there are so many Qian descendants from the Qian royal family who were incredibly famous and successful people in their area of profession. There were scientists who were some of the most important scientists mid of last century that, I mean, you can say that if they didn't exist, China would be in a very different place today, that level. So the Qian family had a couple of very famous scientists that were fundamental to what China is today. They're all descendants from Qian family. There are literature giants who are from that family. Like they're literally in every field they are, right? There are a couple of most famous people in recent Chinese history who were all from the Qian's descendants. In a way, you can say maybe because their ancestor was like collected a lot of good karma for what they've done, so that their descendants, even till like after 1,000 years, still can have like, I don't know, like you're born a genius, like you're a scientist genius. That's like a talent in many ways that you can learn later, right? And you can say that's karma because that their ancestors did something that was really, really meaningful and benefited a lot of people. So the sort of like, you know, their later descendants all did very well. There's so many. It's incredible when you look at how many absolutely like famous names in Chinese science world, literature world in the last century that were fundamental to current China. They were all from that family. It's like very impressive. Like the huge list of names, you look at that, I think, okay, it kind of proves karma is real. Yeah, Nobel Prize winner, somebody typed out, right? Very famous, like diplomats, great literature giants, political, like China's Academy of Science, and then incredible. They're still like doing very well, and Qian family is very famous in that region. It's like one of the most direct kind of case of family legacy and also like family karma. Because karma often is like you have personal karma, which is just what you've done, right, in every lifetime and what decides like where you go. But then also when you get born into a family, you kind of inherit within this family what has been done by the ancestors. It affects the descendants in ways that are like another set of karma. You can say Chen family has very good karma and kind of proves. And it works. Like after 1,000 years, it still works. And that whole level of like how many great people came out of the family is kind of like, it cannot be random because that number is too big to be randomly happening. How to be born from that family. You probably have to be like doing a lot of good things in your lifetime to incarnate into that branch of family. It's almost like that, like you sync, right? Like you have a good enough vibration, it syncs with a good enough vibration of that family legacy, and you kind of click, and you can. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be able to. Four, 6, 9, 8. I agree with you. They should get what's coming to. Yeah. Particularly after what you look at Epstein files, right? And no longer Prince Andrew and possibly other people, right? It's there are people like the Chen family in Chinese history who are pretty much like say, yeah, they're humans, but they've done like things that can qualify them as saints for what they've done. And then you have elites in certain other areas of the world who are in human skin, but you can barely call them human. They probably aren't. Like, they really don't qualify as being humans. They're worse than animals because animals, like, yeah, there are certain species who are pretty vicious, but in generally, right, they don't do like the type of things humans do. They kill because they need to. They eat. Otherwise, they don't survive, and that's it. Yes, cats play with tortures like rats for a bit, but like that's how far it goes. And you look at humans, it's like they're not humans. They're not even animals. You can't even like. You don't even have a like comparison living creatures on Earth that can really be compared to these things. Ugh. I'm not surprised, but I feel very disappointed, I'd say. But I'm not surprised. I mean, think about Kubrick, right? How he died and how he died like right after that movie. And then that movie had like 20 minutes cut off that never got showed. Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, and then Hollywood and all the kind of like stuff like people used to talk about, and everyone like thinks it's pure fantasy and conspiracy theory, and now you're looking like actually it might be true. It might be more true than you imagined. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, ever since the end of 25 to now, only like 2 months, 3 months time. I think a lot of like Chinese people who've never left China, like or mostly just lived in China, and also like never been to US and West, who's ever had like romantic lens on the West, whether it's Europe or America, have had it unfortunately completely shattered in their face. And they're still in the period of coping, and then realizing like how silly they've been due to a couple of things that has happened on internet from the end of last year to now. I'd say like the Epstein file recently is just like a last coffin in like a nail in the coffin for all the dreamy Chinese people who believe the West is the civilized place, right? Because a lot of Chinese people were literally online were joking about, Seriously, we thought you were like the beacon, the lighthouse, the I don't know, like, because you West created industrial revolution, you push technology to like, people think high tech equals high morality, but clearly it's not the case. And a lot of Chinese people were thinking, we thought you were in 21st century, but actually you were like not even like moved beyond Shang, which is China's like 3,000 years ago dynasty that was famous for human sacrifice. It's like the aristocrats eat each other. And when they have like a big ceremony, they have to pick like the higher the aristocrat level is, like the bigger the sacrifice is. And even when you are like really high aristocrat, you may still get picked and get killed, and then your meat is grinded up into a pate and being eaten by everyone else on the ceremony. And that's what like a normal for Shang dynasty. And Chinese netizens were like, so basically in the West, it's still like not even beyond Shang, not even gotten to Zhou, right? which is like shocking. Chinese people can't cope with it. Like a lot of people were like dazed. Like you can't believe like how people were dazed on China's internet about what is going on in the West. Because I mean, like, I think younger people these days who born after 2000s, they probably become more aware of this. But like for me, who were born in last century, we grew up like idealizing the West. It's funny when you think about China, right? Like supposedly America thinks of it as an enemy, and then it's a socialist country, and you know, like how. But honestly, I tell you, right? When I was growing up, America was like dreamland. It's like incredibly rich because Hollywood movies were in China. People like, yeah, we think of like the U.S. like almost like a heaven on earth, almost like not on the same level as we are. At least that was like when I was little. People like if you go to like any event of the family, like eating, and people chat, right? Like the random stories they either read somewhere or they've seen or they've heard. In all those stories, anecdotal stories on dinner table, the West, Japan or Germany, right? They're all pictured and described as those like it's perfect. Everything in China is wrong. Everything Chinese people do is wrong. Our system is totally bad. It's totally corrupted. People are bad. Like morality wise, Chinese people are selfish. Chinese people are this and bad. Our government is terrible. And then everything in the West is perfect. There's no nepotism. Everything is by law. It's all just, and they have high techs and everything is great. Like that was like the world I grew up in, where including Japan, literally. Weird, okay? But including Japan, because technology-wise, right, China at the time was no comparison. And there were so many funny anecdotal stories about how perfect German engineering is, how just American system is, and how they have the 三权分立, right? They have the judicial and the government and the three powers that are separate from each other. It's all running perfect. How medicine is perfect. Medicine. It's funny. Like American medicines are so good. Stuff and imported medicines are always better than Chinese domestic ones. I mean, you can like go on for I can go on for 4 hours about every anecdotal stories I've heard about how everything is perfect in Japan, in Germany, in like England, in America, and China is shit. That's where I grew up, right? I mean, looking back, it's fun. It's really cool for one person's lifetime to go through that many changes. I'm just saying, it's a golden time to be incarnated, because you're never gonna get this experience if you're not born in this time. Anyway, yes, like a lot of older people, like older than me, they probably still believe that because they get like slower information update to them now that they're older. Like if they're in their 60s, 70s, they're not so connected to what's going on in the world right now. But for younger people, right, they no longer believe that. And for people who are like me, who's between the very young and the very old, I happen to go through all the stages of idealizing And now got to the point where it's too funny to even like you know. So I feel like it's just so dramatic. It probably is cooler than any drama you can think of. If you think about American Dream, right? And then from a Chinese person's perspective, who's of my age, who's gone through all the stages, it's in itself a absolute great drama because it has full twist. It has a 180-degree twist, and you cannot be even more dramatic than that. Yeah, for Eastern European people, it's even worse because you've truly suffered a real collapse, right? Like, because China didn't die. Like, it got like pretty bad beaten, but it survived till today. It's like scraping by history's huge wheel. If it didn't, I can't imagine what my life is like today. Honestly. Yeah, so for the people who are like close to my age, they will understand this because we grew up in the same. This is very easy to understand. The rhetoric and all the things you're exposed to since you were growing up. You remember, now you look back, right? You know, like all this. And honestly, right now, I think back, I really marvel at the fact that somehow we survived it. In terms of the brainwashing, the instilled ideas in your head and your opinions, and on that end is like till today, right? It didn't fully kind of block you from actually seeing the truth. On the other hand, is economically, technology-wise, science advancement-wise, China actually managed to, particularly in the last decade, trying to like suddenly just like leaped forward quite a bit. And it didn't get completely, it didn't get basically destroyed by the West, so that it no longer has any hope of jumping out of the system that's set up by the West to basically enslave the whole world. Honestly speaking, the West is enslaving the whole world for its own benefit, and it's been doing that since day one. But I think, so for being a Chinese person of my age, right, there's like a double fortune. One is, even I grew up in that environment, and I've been exposed to so much that kind of rhetoric. Still though, it eventually till today, right, I'm lucky enough to not be blinded. On the other hand, is China was lucky enough not to be completely eaten by the West and destroyed before it could grow strong enough to now be what it is, to not fully become incorporated into the West's rules and systems and say, maybe we can think about another way of doing things. Like, we don't have to all do what you do. For smaller countries, they have no choice because power-wise, it's not in comparison. It's like the little tiny, like even tinier than Wu Yue, right? Trying to fight a big empire. You can't do it. But for Chinese people, it's really just scraping by luck when you look back on a lot of very important milestone changes in the recent 4 or 5 decades. That had something didn't get done right, we would not be in today's place. And it's sometimes it's just tiny things that if it didn't go this way, it goes that way, shit will happen. It happened so many times on so many things. Yeah, real life is truly a lot more dramatic than any drama could ever get. Western political system. Western doesn't have a political system. Come on. China is not in communism, okay? If you're thinking about communism, China is not a communism country because in many ways, communism is almost like the last step. Is the absolutely idealized version of human life where we get to the point where nobody needs to ever worry about anything in their life. In a way where food, any basic needs is fully abundant. Like, you don't have to worry about any of that. And civilization is so advanced to the point any dream, any personal aspiration can be fully supported. There's no need for war anymore because everybody has enough. There's no resource shortage of any form. Like, you have to have all those things, right? Like, up to that level where it's fully secure, never a possibility of falling down. Then you know, like, ooh, happens. Okay, like it's a local, some dangerous whatever person stuff. Don't approach. Okay. Alert. Oh, somebody abducted someone. Oh my god. And they're saying don't approach. Love. Here. But it just happened while I'm live streaming. Right. So Chinese people actually are very pragmatists, or like highest percentage of Chinese people is we actually, ideology is important, but also we look at what works, right? And the more important thing is face the fact. It's like, if like see it for what it is, right? Not ideology first and then I mean, think about Western DEI. It is like all those kind of crazy thinking first and then looking at reality last, and don't even actually care about how it affects reality. Whereas Chinese people are like, reality. You know, it's like if I pour boiling water on you, you're gonna get burned, right? Not just be, like, any other excuse is not gonna stop that from happening. Like, you can believe in whatever, but you're still gonna get burned. So we need to treat the burn or not get boiled, like burned by boiling water. It's like, that is like the ground for Chinese people. Like, regardless of what you believe would be the ideal political system or whatever, first thing is like, can we get the real problem solved? The road is blocked. We need to move that stone. Like, that's Chinese people's thinking. It's like, we first get that down. Like, who cares what your ideology is? And I think if most people would be willing to treat reality as what it is and then solve problems, the world will already be a much better place. Like, you don't even have to go any like steps beyond. A lot of problems with the current world is people don't even want to do the first step, which is face the reality, see one as one, see black as black, white as white, you know, like a potato as a potato, not as a tomato. Yeah, but like so many places in the world doesn't even want to do that. Like, how are you gonna get anything done? And we live in the physical reality that rains, that has wind, that has temperature, that has food grown out of ground that you need to take care, otherwise it would not grow the way you want it. And time goes like in that linear fashion, at least like on the macro level. You know, like, you can we just first deal with reality properly with our knowledge of like science and how the natural world works? And then, you know, and it's not the other way around. You can't just sit there and think the world into like liberation. We're not at that level yet. I mean, maybe humans are gonna species-wise evolve one day to that level where we're all just mental. I mean, which totally could happen, but we're not in that world yet, okay? So when you're in what state and in what situation, you need to do what is the right thing. And you have to be able to acknowledge reality first. And then so many people just refuse to do that. They don't even want to do that. So how are you going to get anything done? You're just going to debate each other forever, go in circles forever, while shit is happening in the real world. And, you know, pancakes are not going to drop from the sky. I mean, evil stuff works. I mean, so, you know, like, really decent people should think about, like, if evil exists, right? We can't just let it happen. We have to go and do something to stop it. Which is, like, yeah, I mean, you know, again, this one of those things these days that makes Chinese people very, very confused, which is like really interesting to see the two, like the confusion from both sides. During the whole ICE thing that's going on in the US, most of the Chinese netizens who would very naively, because they really don't know that much about what goes on in the US, right? They just see this happening and they get confused because they were like, don't you Americans legally own guns? Like, don't you have more guns than humans in the US? Because that's the number everybody knows. You have more guns in number than the actual numbers of human heads. And so Chinese people's first reaction would be, well, then grab your gun and fight back. Because you do have, it's not like you don't have weapons. Why don't you like team up, right? The Chinese people, the first in, the ideas from normal Chinese people goes, okay, you have like local whatever community and you have a whatever group. Why can't you band together and just fight back like those people? Like how many are there? You outnumber them. You probably outnumber them in guns too. So why can't you do that? So Chinese people's first reaction would be, why don't you fight back? You have guns. Like, it's not like you don't have anything. And then they look at like the protests in the US, right, where people literally kneel and claw in snow, right? They like crawl in snow and kneel, and then they use that way to protest ICE. And then Chinese people were like, why are you doing that? It's not gonna work. Like, what are you trying to like achieve at? So for most Chinese people who are very naively kind of like thinking from a Chinese perspective, right? They're like, get up, because that's Chinese people's history. Was like when we don't get like when people can't survive, right? When people are too suppressed by whatever bad ruler, they just get their guns, get their shovels up, and then get rid of the emperor, get a new one on. I mean, because it happened so many times in Chinese history that it's the first thing that Chinese people think of. Well, just like overthrow them. You have more people, you outnumber them. Right, and it's like instinctively for Chinese people is like we've gotten rid of too many emperors in our history. We've done it so many times. We can tell you it works. Go and do it. So for Chinese people, it's very like they can't understand why the protesters are like they have those like passport tied to their head, and then they have those like signs on them, and then they just like kneel and protest. And Chinese people are looking at them. It's like, you have guns, why are you doing that? And it's really funny to see the two sides having completely different perspectives on these things, and they can't like it surprises each other. Like people like I look at it on internet, I'm like, real life is way too much more dramatic than drama, and because Chinese people we're just so used to the whole sort of like, if the ruler is unjust, then we're just gonna get rid of them. Yeah, maybe the rest of the world is laughing, but I think a lot of people are signing. I think the really decent people are feeling very bad, very sad, because it's always the kind, normal, good people who suffer most in these situations, because they're too decent and too good. Therefore they pay the price, right? It's so unfair. Yeah, but you have to also think it didn't last. Things can happen, but they don't last. Right? Great leap forward, cultural revolution, yeah, but how long did it last? In history's scale, it's barely anything. Yes, it's cruel to a specific person who got trapped in it 10 years, a decade of your life, even before and after that gets destroyed. It's still golden era, yes. But when you think about history, it's nothing. It did happen, but then it stopped. Because Chinese people, I mean, look at North Korea in comparison, right? Look at North Korea in comparison. You can consider it was in Cultural Revolution from day one. It still hasn't stopped. Like all their history is full-on cultural revolution, never stopped, plus famine and great leap forward. So it's like great leap forward plus cultural revolution forever for North Korea. I think it's a lot of like complicated sort of like elements that all work into this particular combination of current China, what it is, that I think Chinese people these days are become more and more aware of like how to reposition themselves in the world currently, because we are used to position ourselves due to the sort of like last century, couple 1-2 centuries of pretty bad modern history. We have a weird positioning of ourselves. Now a lot of people are adjusting that and trying to see the world more sort of factually as what it is. So we live in really interesting times. That's you lived over 6 decades, right? You don't mean 60 decades. That will make you a vampire, CLP. If you lived 60 decades, you're 600 years old, which means when you were born, it was still Ming Dynasty. No, it was Ming. And not even late Ming, which would be impressive. 春节档电影. Yeah, so it's not 60 decades, it's 6 decades. It's scary when you say 60 decades. It makes me wonder. It makes me wonder who my viewers are. Chinese New Year this year movie is not very looking good, because this would be what we consider to be a small year in terms of how many big IPs are showing up. Almost none this year. Last year was super big, not just because哪吒happened, but because it has like the 蛟龙行动, it has 封神, creation of gods. It has 唐探, like Detective Chinatown. All these are big IPs in cinema in China. They all showed up in 1 year. And so last year was super big. And when you have a super big year, the next one is not going to be a super, because nobody can do that like every year. So a lot of big IPs will have to kind of like do one like every 3-5 years. So once you have a big year, you will have small year. And this year will be very, very, very small. Yeah, don't worry about that. If it's 600 years, it would be cool. I would absolutely love to interview a vampire. I would absolutely love to do that. The golden days of Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise in one movie. Anyway, this year, so we have very small movies. First, you have the third, 飞尘生, the race car race car movie with Shen Teng. They have the third one out this year. That one is a long-lasting IP, which probably was the biggest IP they're gonna get like this year in Chinese cinema. Then you have the Bear animation, which is already like the 10th year or something. Like it goes on every year in Chinese cinema for kids. It's like the 3D animation of 熊大熊二, the Bear brothers, which is completely unknown outside of China, but it's like Chinese kids like guilty pleasure. So that movie is gonna come out no matter what. Every Chinese Spring Festival is gonna get one of the Bear animation. So that's one. You have the 标人, which is the wuxia, the one I just talked about with Wu Jing, and it's in desert, and it's like based on anime, and it's pretty good, well-known IP in China, and probably the last proper wuxia movie in cinema that's a big enough production in Chinese cinema. Because if this one didn't work, like the coming 标人 didn't work, the genre will be dead. Because Chinese wuxia genre is on the brink of death. Not only is because audiences are growing out, but also because there's no new blood to get into this profession. In terms of actors, fighters, choreographers, all those people who were like golden ages of wuxia movies, now they're in their 60s, 70s, 80s, they're old. And there aren't that many young potentials, very small number of them. And also, for all kinds of reasons, this sort of like the overall genre is also no longer, let's say, it needs to be refreshed because it's been so, like right now it's like in its old age. It needs rebranding and some kind of like new inventive things happening to it. Otherwise, it's gonna die. So if this year 标人's box office didn't perform well, you can literally think about 武侠 movie as a genre dying, like dead after this. Because if this one didn't succeed, nobody is gonna put money in making another one, and it's gonna be dead. It's like the last bit of glimmer of hope. Because historically, like about 600 years, historically, I think there's a record of, although it's legendary, but like Peng Zu, right, in Chinese history, supposedly he lived 800 years. But that's like close to immortal person who's very special. Like, and also like how real it is like still up to debate. As a person, if you live 600 years, it's kind of like not looking very good actually. Because I don't think if you live 600 years, there would be like, there's nothing you have to pay for that. It probably is a very big payment that is pretty bad. So 武侠is on the brink of total death. If this 标人 didn't do well and kind of like give the market some kind of confidence of future investment into the same genre. So although I'm not a huge fan of Wu Jing, I'm like kind of impartial. Like I don't have special sort of like or dislike toward him. And also like I'm not a huge fan of this type of movie. I really don't want it to fail. I don't have a personal vendetta against any of those people. I don't want the genre to fail because if it fails, it's kind of like the last, again, nail in coffin, and then you're not gonna get any future ones. It's kind of like killing the whole genre. Live that long only if you don't have to have a job. 黄金打工人 Yeah, that's a form of hell torture, I think. Particularly the type of 9-to-5 jobs where you have to punch in, punch out, punch in, punch out, and just like do like mechanically like repetitive stuff. So although like I have no specials or like whatever for 标人, I don't want it to lose and fail because if it did, it would be bad. So that movie is out. Also, we have the Zhang Yimou, 国安 movie, the national security movie, 惊蛰无声, right? Scare Out. That's 朱一龙, 易烊千玺, 宋佳, 张译, 雷佳音, all those famous, 刘诗诗, Yang Mi, like they're all in, 刘诗诗 and Yang Mi, all in this movie. Basically spy movie of contemporary time. I don't have a good feeling about it, like I said in my video. Based on the trailer, it looks extremely bland. Because Zhang Yimou is famous, if not for anything, for his cinema style, his cinematography, his visual. He's famous for that, and that's one of his most sort of like iconic thing. Yet in this movie, you see none of it. In the trailer, it looks like any random Chinese drama director could have filmed those shots. It doesn't even look good. And some Chinese dramas can even look better in terms of just like how the camera work looks and the set design and stuff. It looks like it's so shot in this big metropolis of like skyscrapers and glass and steel. It's so clean, and all the neon lights and all the shots of the camera on the crane that moves on those buildings, and it goes in and out, and all the people looking super cool, dressed in whatever dark clothes, and they're in those trailers. They go in and like 10 screens around them. It's like high tech, and people are calling each other and pretending to be super cool, super agent. It's like so boring looking, and also the camera looks like just really cheaply done. And if you don't tell me it's a Zhang Yimou movie, I would never, ever, ever think it's like his movie. I mean, he's old enough these days to not probably shoot it by himself. I mean, he was a cinematographer before. But I mean, the people who's working under him, who's holding the camera, is definitely basically under his instruction. And it looks so meh. And look at the trailer. I don't think anyone will get impressed by the picture that you see in the trailer. It's so... I feel like he probably just got, like, for whatever reason, he had to do this project, but he put zero heart in it. In the picture, you can see. Back in the days of, like, some of his classic movies, right, you can feel the artist behind it, who has some kind of, like, obsession about things looking the way they want. In Zhang Yimou's cinematography. And this one doesn't have any. It looks shockingly bland. And then think about, he's not the type of director who's gonna do Bourne's Identity, okay? His best stories are always those slow, dramatic stories about very private people's stuff. In a smaller world, between real people. Like, some of his best movies are all about very personal, very... those things. And once you talk about national security, super agents, and spy work of 2025, I'm like, okay, probably. So I have no hope for that movie. Honestly, I don't think it's gonna be good. Right. And we shall wait and see. I mean, obviously, Zhu Yilong and Yang Qianxi's fans are gonna try to totally say it's the best movie ever made. But who knows? Who knows? I don't have high hopes for it. What else? Oh, there is a pretty silly looking one called with a very Latin name, because I think they used a Latin word for it, right? Per aspera ad astra, which means like to go to stars, you have to like go through like difficulties, whatever, which is a soft sci-fi futuristic kind of movie led by Wang Hedi and Song Qian. They just released the trailer last week. I think I didn't say that in the video, but basically it's like a future where people can put this on their temple and go into a dream zone, and then the dream zone has its own rules, and it has engineers and people who take care of it, and then something weird is happening in that, which traps a lot of people inside. So when they're in reality but they got trapped in the dream zone, they can't get out, so they have to send people in to figure out what's going on and then save all the people. And it's like that kind of story. So it has a lot of looking like futuristic settings of people sitting there and just going to their like all those, like we go into a game Chinese dramas, and it's Song Qian and Wang Hedi, and the dream zone is the most sort of important part, where there's a lot of CG, a lot of weird things happening in it, and you know, as you can imagine. I don't know about that one. I honestly can't tell. I think again it will be very fandom targeted, and it would be very limited audience. It's like the young audiences who like Song Qian and Wang Hedi are gonna go watch it. My daddy and my parents are never gonna walk into a cinema for that, right? Like, no way. And then I don't have high hopes for it either. Based on the trailer, it looks like yeah, it's just one of those movies to cut fandom's 韭菜. 星河入梦. Not even, don't think about Inception. Like, no. Like, look at the trailer, you'll know. It doesn't, like, it's not even close to that level of, like, no. Yes, the Chinese name is 星河入梦, and you can hear the line delivery in the movie, in the trailer, where Wang Hedi is intentionally, again, using his 川普, because probably his character is set up as somebody who can't speak Mandarin. I so wish I could be a good-looking person who was born later, so that I can go and be an idol actor too. So that I don't have to do anything. I don't have to train my skills. I don't have to have perfect Mandarin line delivery. I don't have to. I would just have a strong accent, and then I would just like write a character, like ask the writer to write a character who has an accent, and then I just do it in the movie. So convenient. So convenient. Yes, you don't have to be. Actually, you cannot be too good looking to be a popular idol actor. It's actually really interesting, but think about currently all those, let's say, being backed up by money, having a huge fandom, having money running behind it to get their like data looking good online. All those people, whether it's actresses, actors, singers, whatever, think about them. Most of them are actually not outstandingly pretty or like impressive, like a star, like the old days celebrity. Before internet, the age before internet, right? Those impressively pretty and star-like people. And think about these days stars, they're not even close to the caliber of the older people. Why? Because you actually are not supposed to be too outstanding and irreplaceable to be preferred by capital as the storefront for their game. If I want to set you up as a new idol that can get me fandom money in like for whatever, right? And then like I can even set up an IPO, a company where like the stock price of my stuff is totally depending on how famous and how popular you are. Think about that. Do you want this person to be so outstanding and impressively like talented and good looking in every way so that they are irreplaceable? Obviously not, because then that person will have too much power over you. They have say, and you can't do anything because everything is dependent upon them. What you want is easy to control, not outstanding and easily replaceable icons. That once this one is out of use for whatever reason, you can replace them with a new one. So superstars of like impressively sort of like era-defining quality people are almost impossible to exist these days, particularly like in Chinese entertainment business, because it is not sustainable. From capital's point of view, from shareholders' point of view, they want money to come in steadily and grow steadily. They don't want any accident. They don't want any unanticipated element that may, they basically have no control over. They want a full control. They want it to be streamlined production line where guaranteed return is every year in my pocket. So what kind of people would you want to pick for that case as your storefront? Obviously, see why people are not even that good looking, not even that impressive, sometimes even like totally untalented and funny and like funnily like incapable, right? And silly. Why you want to pick them? Because first, it's easier to control them. They have nothing to go off of. They cannot bargain with you. They cannot even argue because they have nothing, no chips. Also, is if they're no longer in good use, we can immediately replace them with other people. For the big companies, like this is like too extreme in South Korea, right? They have completely streamlined that production line. Historically, obviously, a couple of idols or band will get like to the top, and they will be the most famous one. And they will be kind of like no other can get to that point. But you have to think about it as a big business, right? Think about, for example, in South Korea, when they have the idol training system. Think about the proportion of people who get worked into the system and literally exploited to full and never got anywhere. In the number comparison to the people who ended up coming out and actually get noticed. And still among the like fierce competition, right? The company behind always get money. They set up the system so that whoever climbs to the top, right? It could be you, does not matter. I don't even care who you are because I know statistically I control the whole business. Therefore, one of the you is gonna eventually climb to the top. I don't have to care who you are. I just have to care it happens. And I have to care that there's constant supply of this system kept being running because one day this band, whatever, this idol is gonna get old. They're gonna, I don't know, move on to the other things and life happens, but there will be a next one, and next one, and next one, and I'm gonna just inundate people with complete new stuff every day, so that at least it's in my hand. I have full control of the system. Therefore, it's good. I can keep the game running. Therefore, like the ideal thing would be actually not so outstanding individuals, because they're so good that they're irreplaceable. I cannot play the game. In the production line, I want the production line stable. I want a good enough product, but not too outstanding. So if a system like Chinese acting is getting more idolized for the younger actors, you're gonna see a lot of faces that are extremely similar, and nobody really has like a special thing that is like, wow, this person is so talented and good. If they're actually that, they probably wouldn't enter the more traffic actor world, because that makes them way too uncontrollable. A product. And you can repeat, you can replace, you cannot replicate. And so in Capital's view, it's not really a good investment. They prefer much stable and controllable investment. That's why I say like the so popular like traffic actors these days, everybody looks like everybody else. And there's even like the whole sort of like, I'd say fake competition, that whether it's like they set it up as like this flower against that flower. For example, in China, like 赵露思, Yu Shuxing, right? Somehow they just have to be natural 对家 opponent. Because like this is the game. You have to set it up so that there is constant, because you need that traffic. You need that made up enemy kind of situation for each side to be excited. They have to fight for something. They have to have a goal of competition. That kind of cross exchange creates money, creates constant flow of everything, right? That sets up this game. Whether these two people who are pull out as two, like whether they care about it themselves or whether they actually personally have a problem with the other person, does not matter. It's all a game of getting attention, creating you make people like constantly be aware that you are existing, you are creating waves, you have presence, you get people's attention, they grab that attention that's so precious, and you manually create this type of does not actually exist war, so that there's more like money to be made, energy to be, time to be spent for people who fight for them, energy, attention grabbed. It's all, and then you can sell products, right? So it's all like that. So I look at it, I think it's just like others, and there's so many young people who are very easily manipulated into voluntarily serve as the soldiers for those type of like fake competition. They spend their time, their money, right, and then they ignore the real important things in their life, and they're enslaved by like being a fan of somebody, which is really sad. And the people who are on top like just happily see it happening and get money from it. And that's why this thing, it's really pathetic, but it's going on all the time. And so that's like what it's like, right? I mean, Korean people are pretty like open about like doing that. Chinese people are a little bit more sort of like, we don't want to admit, but it's going on. And when you even see that, like that culture, that really twisted culture gets seeped into other businesses. Acting used to be not like that, but once internet platforms took hold of like the right of basically what goes on and what gets seen, the young idol traffic actor world in China is so trying to copy all the bad things from like Korean idol industry. And you have all those silly things going on all the time. and at the end of the day, right, it's those people getting profits and getting money, and it's all just for that. Yeah, Netflix totally fucked up Korean drama. It's like no secret, everybody knows that. For South Korea, right, the problem is its market is so tiny because it's a small region with limited people who speak its language. Outside of Korea, how many people speak Korean, right? No. And so, as a smaller region of limited market in movie and in film, and where the language is very specific, the problem of it is once it gets eaten and completely, like its orders and its rules getting completely rewritten and ruined by Netflix and movies and television, like it's just like there's no place to bounce back. Like it has nowhere to retreat. One thing for China is, first, China doesn't allow Netflix to do stuff like that. The second, China, because China had hold like iron hold, right? Try to iron hold every publication type of thing for good reason. I mean, one thing you can complain about Chinese censorship is this cannot be made, that cannot be made. Yeah, it's unfortunate. But on the other hand, it's like if you open it up, imagine the mess is gonna happen. And then think about what has happened in so many, like just look at even a Netflix, a company that can just totally destroy Koreans' ecosystem, like its previously existing ecosystem of how writers, directors, actors, like how that system works in their own world gets completely like basically colonized. And now it's like there's nowhere to run. It's like once it's done, it's done. It cannot even have there's nowhere to run. For China is one, it's bigger, right? It's a lot bigger. It has a bigger population. It does not have such a concentrated problem. And also like Netflix is not allowed to do like that type of thing in China. And it's a wise thing. You cannot let this type of company, because they're like viruses. They're like totally impersonal kind of colonizing bodies. It's like cancer, right? It goes in, it grows, and it tries to take everything. Yeah, so I mean, as like people who are in this industry, believe me or not, like we complain about censorship ourselves so much all the time. At the same time, we're like, yeah, but if we were the people who are sitting on the top and trying to make policies about what we do, we probably will have to go with this too. It's like, you know, like in comparison, which evil is like you cannot afford to deal with? That's the situation. It's like people say Chinese internet has walls. Yes, like it happened like about like 15 years ago or something when they started it. Now looking back, right? Like retrospectively, when you look back on what goes on with the internet's problems with like what Twitter, Facebook later, like what got found out, like how they do things, you're like, probably that was a good idea. You have to admit it was a good idea because they use these things, social media, as tools to overthrow governments in smaller countries who can't have any say in these matters, who don't have the ability to say no to Google, to all those big, and then basically all the people in this country gets controlled and they're all on this, and then riots happen. And once you cut internet off, right, like there's nothing happening because people can't even communicate and coordinate. But like those are smaller countries who can be easily manipulated. Its public can be easily manipulated by foreign power in social media that are used as tools to control its local politics, whatever. And think about if that happens to China, with a country of that size and 1.4 billion people. We don't want the 5 dynasties, 10 kingdoms again, okay? Chinese people, it's like, we don't want it because we've had it once and it's like really bad. And so from China's point of view, to do that, so that first is it stops the foreign apps to have control, so that local Chinese domestic apps can grow and they can have their own market and ecosystem. The second is basically the foreign companies, you know, like American companies, would not have access to Chinese data. Imagine how scary it is if Google Map has all Chinese roads because of like all those data, exactly where everything is. right? Like when you have full access of Google Map in China and it's fully updated and people use it to take taxis like Ubers, like if it's the foreign version, like imagine that for China these days. Like if America decides to be, which it has decided to be like a few years ago, right? To be like China is our enemy. Imagine how scary that is. Think about how scary that is, right? If they know everything. Satellite, everything, road, even like how many people go to what place at what time, what's the traffic like. And then you can get so much information from just watching traffic. For example, why this particular car always goes to this place at this time. You can even guess based on the data, certain military facilities that's hidden in certain areas if you have traffic data, which would be very scary. So now you think back on you know, like what's going on in the world. It's kind of like a clever thing that China did to not allow right, foreign like Google and stuff to have full access to Chinese database and user base, because we don't trust what those companies do. And these days everybody knows these companies don't do good things, right? They spy on their own people too. So like, yeah, you'd think they're not gonna spy on China. No way. So it's inconvenient, yes, like you have to VPN and everything, but overall, right, it's still for the better, for the good. So when you think back about, you know, like a lot of things back then when it first happened, I was like pissed because, you know, I can't access Google and it's so inconvenient for a lot of things. But now you have to think about, thankfully, right? And also, this also happened after 2009 when there was a big terrorist attack in China that a lot of foreign people don't know. But it happened, and then it was later found out like Facebook had something, I think, to do with it, like in terms of people coordinating attacks on that. Therefore, China was like, no, from this point onwards, like you're not gonna get any access to Chinese data, Chinese users. We don't allow you to come in. You did it once, and that's enough. And it's never gonna happen again, which a lot of people are unaware of. Like people are just saying Chinese, it's like Chinese government is like so whatever. Like you find all the bad word for it. It's so funny. It's like in the West, it's governance. In China, it's just regime. You know, we have to use the worst word to describe the others because they're not good people. It's so silly and other stupid. It's as if a U.S. government is not a regime. I mean, look at ICE. It's like Second World War flashback on your own people. So now looking back, like based on what they've done, right, for like because of what happened, I think it's still a very making sense sort of like a strategy from government's point of view. And although it's inconvenient and you have to sometimes like, complain about it, like this cat that is like, ah. But at the end of the day, right, the worst choice, the other side of the thing is if you do the other version, right, what are you gonna suffer to? Are you willing to do it? Facebook, I haven't used it for like a decade because my personal reason for not using Facebook, can you people guess like what it is? I don't use Facebook at all. It's my live stream. I can say whatever I like. Okay? Tomorrow I can change my channel into a gourmet food channel and then just about cooking. Who's gonna stop me? Honestly, drama is just drama. Drama is not even important at all. There are far more important things in this world. As much as I want to make myself like important and what I like and what I do important, I realize it is not that important. There are essential things the world needs much more than what I do. Like doctors, like drivers, like planes flying in the sky, like technology that actually makes sure you can survive in winter. These are far more important than, you know, drama is just it's just the icing on the cake. Yeah, and also like if you think drama is not political, oh my god, everything is political. Movies, Hollywood movies are most political movies. Everything is political. And particularly art and politics are always together. Historically, it's also true, right? You can't run away from it. You can try to say we don't want anything to do with politics, and you're like, yeah, you're joking. Arts are the first thing to get used by politics, however you want to run away from it. So many ads. No, I don't use FB because it looks ugly. The UI, the color, just the look of it when you open the app, right? Like when you type things, and it's ugly looking. It's ugly. That's the reason I don't use it. See how because I hate how it looks. Just looking at, particularly like when you look at like the web version, it's also ugly. It's just not pretty looking in any way. It's so ugly. The UI, the typeface, the color, like the proportion of speaking, like all the design of things is like ugly. So I stopped using it because it's ugly. One of the reasons I don't like TikTok and also like Douyin is also because it looks really rough. And also like just the video, like the sort of like the look of the app, and also because it's a vertical video, right? When you do it, it just looks rough. A lot of people shoot stuff in like really low definition. It looks so bad, and the type fonts are like typeface are always ugly. I'm like, I can't deal with those ugly sort of like information in my face. So I don't use TikTok, I don't use Facebook, because most of the time I get offended by how ugly they look like. That's the reason. So if like Yengo is a thing, I'm highly like high level Yengo. I mean, I can deal with like Xiaohongshu's way of like putting information out like this, but I cannot deal with TikTok's look. I look at the app, I open it, it's just so ugly, and I don't really like any like particular social media app. I think most of them are like pretty bad. I go on Weibo is because Weibo is just mostly still text, although it has images. Mostly it's still text, and it's easy because you look at the text, it's very easy to get information. You don't have to open it, listen. You don't have time constraint. You can just look at the thing in like 5 seconds, you get it. Instead of I have to watch a video for a minute and you only say the important thing in the last 5 seconds. I hate that. I just find text so much more like concise and quick to get stuff. So on Weibo, I just look at text, and it's time saving. I don't have to spend time listening to people talk for a minute. I can just look at that minute speech in like 10 seconds and it's done. Instagram, I also don't get on anymore. At some point, Instagram got so much ad, and the people I follow, they never show up on my feed. It's like I follow the people, they don't show up. It's always ad and random people who show up, and I'm like, I've had enough. Although it doesn't look bad, I don't want to use it anymore. So I don't use Instagram either. I really don't like vertical. I don't like vertical videos. No matter what, I don't like it. Even after this many like years of vertical videos being so common, I hate them. I hate them. I have the feeling like I'm a horse, and I have those things that's like restricting my vision, so I can't see what happens on the side. I hate vertical videos. Yeah. It's almost party time for my game. I have to go on. I don't have to do anything. I just have to go on. Discord, I only use it for just communication, right? When I need, like right now, because I'm like having a guild in the game, so all the guild members, I invite them to it, so that if anything related to the game is happening, I can talk to them on there. But that's what I use for Discord. I do have the Avenue X channel as well, but I barely go there anymore because I completely gave the administration to other people. I just don't have enough energy to deal with a lot of people's like requests and stuff over there. I just realized the game has update, and I haven't actually installed it. So let me hope I can climb onto the game like in 5 minutes. Otherwise, I'm gonna be late. I think now there's no restriction, so basically they can like for whatever genre you can have longer than 40. Now it's up to you. Do you think it's making sense for it to the story to be that? But I don't think, right, it's gonna go back to 80 episodes for drama as it was for a while, because first, people don't have patience, and a lot of people realize they hate long, winding, like unstopping, like forever dramas. So drama makers are not gonna make them because nobody wants to watch that. The second thing is it also like talks about costs and stuff, right? The longer you make it, obviously the more footage you're gonna have to do, more post-production you're gonna have to do. You have to do more of everything. And these days, market is not good, and Chinese drama is not doing well overall. So people don't really want to spend unnecessary money if it's not necessary. Therefore, I don't think the dramas of 60, 70, 80 episodes days will come back. And also short dramas like like the real short and all those things are taking such a huge cut of the market these days. They're getting so much noticed. They're basically competing with long forms. So long forms will be very, very savvy about like how long they want to stretch it. Unless it's absolutely necessary for the drama to be long, they probably don't want to make long dramas anymore. So even when the restriction is gone, I don't think everything is going to go back to 60 episodes tomorrow. Not going to happen now. That game is Where Winds Meet, which is the 五代十国 game, just as Swords into Plowshares. It's really funny that they're happening kind of like at the same time. Tomorrow on Chinese server, which is a year ahead of international server, they're gonna have the map release of Kaifeng's Royal Imperial Palace, which is the Song Dynasty Palace. As the game is pretty much set right after Song's kind of creation, which would be 961-ish, it's gonna be really interesting to see what the game is gonna do to the palace city, and all the characters who will be show up. And they already in the trailer showed Zhao Kuangying. So Zhao Kuangying is the big brother Zhao in the game, but he's also in the game. You're gonna see a younger version of him when he was still a general and super good looking, not chubby and fat after he's become an emperor and ate too much good food. So personally, I highly look forward to tomorrow's update on China's server just to see what they have. They will have supposedly like 3,008 NPC. I'm like, oh my god. And a huge map of the palace. And then you're gonna see Big Zhao, first emperor of Song. I think those would be like the person, like when you are asking for Zhao Lusi, I think it would be just promotion because the drama is not officially released. And then It was like the final thing is like only 14 or so episodes. And when it airs, it would be just like that, just that short drama. But if you're seeing any clips, it would be promotional stuff, I think. Or people who got that from trailer, they wouldn't be the proper thing. Because when it airs, it will air like normally. I think on Youku. Almost 12. And yeah, weirdly, nobody's here. Oh, is there anyone here? I'm just trying to see in my guild if anybody is in. Interesting. Probably everyone is busy. 年少有为，还没看，一会儿去看。Is that No Pay No Gain, right? I watched one episode. I didn't quite get it. Is it fun? I'm so stretched. There are so many dramas right now. I can't even think straight. I'm like, after this, I have what the hell is that? I have 2 episodes of Born to Be Alive. I have 2 episodes of Truth. I don't know how many. Is it 4 or 6 for Jade Winged, the Bailu one, and then you have the Chen Lei and Wang Churan. Probably is 4 or 6 because the first day usually is 4 or 6. That's like minimum 12 episodes, maximum 16 episodes that I have to watch before I go to sleep today if I want to catch up and not fall behind. I don't want to. I don't think I can do it. I can probably deal another 4 episodes today, and my brain is gonna rot after that. Okay, like there are quite a few watchable ones on now, but I wouldn't say any of them are like impressive in any way. The Sorting to Plowshares is definitely the one that I would be watching, like every day, just because historicals are too rare these days, and now we got to the serious part where male lead character is finally on throne, but also Middle Kingdom is moving towards the last leg of 5 dynasties, and it's gonna be Song after, so it's proper serious stuff now. How dare you? I think it's today, is it? Or today or tomorrow? I remember it's 5th, but if it's 6th, it wouldn't be too different. Somehow I remember it's the 5th. Is it? Yeah, I've watched stuff that I never talk about, like quite a lot, because it's like so much stuff going on. Oh, 明天. So it would be Friday. Oh, tomorrow is Friday. Holy shit. I just remember something. Okay, Friday. Tomorrow. 6 episodes. Tomorrow on iQIYI, how dare you? 6 episodes. Oh, I wanna cry. Too many stuff going on at the same time. Why do they have to air at the same time? Everybody wants to air before Chinese New Year. What's wrong with you? Can you just wait until after? Do you have to do it now? Everyone is doing it now. Why? Why? Ugh, 亲娘啊. Okay, so Youku's today, the Jade Winged is for SVIP is 1 to 4. For just normal VIP, which is me, because I don't want to spend extra money, it's 1 to 3. So I have 3 episodes of that drama. Tomorrow I have 6. Plus 2 of this one, plus 2 of that one, plus 2 of that one. You know, in my dreams, sometimes I dream about all the characters show up and I beat up them. Last night in my dream, I think I was like standing in the courtroom, like a ancient palace drama courtroom, and I was chopping down characters. because I got so angry. Oh my god. People. First you say I'm a political channel, and then you say you can do a tier list of actors. Are you from some secret fandom who's trying to get me into trouble? It's like, I have a list of best actress, second actress, and then the next day all the fandoms come over and say, bitch, who do you think you are? You have the right to comment on our idols. You are Heiza. You're from 对家. You're opponent. Like you're hired guns from the other person. Either I hate one, so I'm the fan of the other. They're 对家, right? Like, come on. Are you serious? You want a tier list of actors? It's like a death wish for Avenue X. Which fandom do you want to be killed by? List them, okay? You know, there are people who I don't talk about on my channel, right? Because I know like there's too much crazy going on with their fandom and their anti-fandom. It's like the people who hate them and the people who love them are like both insane. So I don't ever talk about their stuff on my channel, almost never, because even when they have a drama going on, I'm like, I don't talk about that because I cannot comment. I cannot even say anything. Any good thing, bad thing, even just talk about this is a drama of 40 episodes will also offend people for no good reason. So I'm not gonna do it. Yes, because that drama, like Swords, has so many people, and they're different people in different dramas. They've been emperors too. 皇帝轮流坐，今年到我家 ，right? Yeah. And in China, it's like if you say anything like criticizing any of those like hot people, right? Like hot popular people, immediately, like they sniff and they carpet the whole internet. You say something randomly on Weibo, and like 5 minutes later, some haters show up and they start to troll you, and they're like, you're like, you must be a hater of there. Like, you're hired by whom to say bad things about? Like, I'm like, oh my god. Do you know why like your idol is not liked by people? It's because people like you. which again makes certain people that much more impressive in the shithole of Chinese entertainment. I mean, one of the reasons why I cannot not like Liu Yuning is because he literally actively goes out and say to his fandom, don't do stupid things. Don't go out to other people, like say bad things about other people's idols. Don't try to defend me. Like in other, like if they say bad things about me, just shut up and don't do anything. Like he actively makes sure nobody do stupid things. I'm like, a sane person, oh my god, like a logical, sane, matured, normal human being in Chinese entertainment. Wow, it's like rare, more rare than Panda, okay? and a normal, sane person who's actually worked in real world. Like who's done a wage job, who's been dirt poor, who has had to serve customers like as a chef. I mean, like when you have that experience, you have perspective. You're never gonna get stupid, right? In terms of like people who've never get exposed to real world and then they just go straight from school, whatever, second rich generation to stardom. They have no idea about what the world is like, right? They have no clue about how things work and they do stupid things. So that's why like I have to have a special soft spot for Liu Yuning. Not because like he's that much more impressive than other actors in acting. He's got a good voice, but it's not like I had to listen to his songs all the time. I barely really like put music on in my place these days. So he's not that like, you know, like irreplaceable in terms of the stuff he does. I mean, it would be nice to have certain things he does, like I would enjoy looking at them, but that's not the highest value of this person to me. The highest value of him to me in Chinese entertainment business is like he's a normal person who actually has lived like a normal person before he got famous. It's like so rare, right? Like you can find one person like that in a million. And as long as he's around, right? I feel like I can still feel this whole industry is like has normal humans in it. I can anchor that. Otherwise I just feel like it's so hopeless. Also, like even till he got sued, like after now he's like really popular and famous, right? Particularly, I think he's like really somehow like popular in South Korea. But even when he got to this position, some of the things he does is still like really like just like not like all those stupid show offs and airhead people in entertainment. He still keeps doing his live stream on like online quite regularly before, like as how he would do it before he got famous, which he totally doesn't need to do anymore at all these days, but he still does it because like he's a real person and a sane person like compared to a lot of fake people. Gong Jun is probably not really made for camera. I would say he's actually not really made for acting. Looking back, he probably can do something other like in like, but not this. Actually, he's 误入. He's very much mistakenly gotten into this industry. Whatever he likes about it or he is interested in, right? It doesn't change the fact that he's actually not cut out for camera acting. I don't think so. Now, based on what I've seen, right? I think Word of Honor is just a very lucky strike for a lot of things to be aligned at that time to just work for that once. But now you look back on, he's not really suitable for acting. But I don't think personally like he's any like there's a problem with him as a person. I don't think so. and also the fact that because he's a good friend of Liu Yining's, right? And they were like the friends who would exchange like food. You know, like they would ship each other every year of the local sort of produce of their region and or what their mother make, and literally like courier service it to the other person. When you think like when you have that kind of friendship, right? Usually when people gather, you know, like they're similar in ways. So if Liu Yuning is a real person, I don't think Gong Jun would be too far from it. Like he wouldn't be like the stupid show-offs of entertainment business too much. Otherwise, they wouldn't be friends. but that aside, just talking about professional, kind of like being an actor, I don't think Gong Jun actually is in the right profession. It's funny, you know, like he got famous, he got money, but I don't think he's made for the business. There are a couple of things I think I observed from Gong Jun after his success of the dramas. One thing is he still actually hasn't gotten through that threshold I call like when you become the character, not yourself, and also when you become not self-conscious, or let's say you are not acting. You are just being the person in the moment. Like he has never gotten to that zone. His acting is still always, he's highly aware he's playing a character who's not himself, and he's trying to imagine, if I'm playing this character, what he should be sounding like or doing. And there's always like that one step more that he's calculating and trying to act instead of just forgetting his acting, he's just being that person in that moment. There's like that nanosecond of thinking of his action before he takes the action. He's always in that kind of zone of his performance. Another thing is he doesn't have a talented ear and voice. And that's something probably you can never learn if you don't have it. That's a problem for actors. One thing really important for actors is to be good imitators. Whether it's imitating other people's speech, voice, or their body language, right? You copy. So you see really successful actors often have very, like if you look at their astrology chart, they usually have really good Mercury, because Mercury is communication, speech. Acting has a lot to do with speech. And also Mercury is mimicry. So it's copying, quickly getting information passing, and then grasp like what is the essence. Like think about a good actor who has to basically play a character who's not who's a professional or whatever, who's very far from their real life. They've never worked in this, they've never met a person. What do? They go and observe, they go and look at materials, whether it's in video or actually go in real life, and go and observe what it's like for that profession. For instance, for a cook, for a butcher, for whatever. What's their daily life like? What kind of like zone they're in? Like how the body works, how their voice works, what kind of words come out of there? Like what is the condition of that person? And they observe and then they copy it and they make it believable, so that the audiences look at them and think, oh, this is like when he's playing butcher, he's really a butcher. That's mimicry. And mimicry really needs high sensitivity, observation, and your body, and also like voice and like ear. Like you have to hear it, and then you know, oh, okay, this person tends to speak like this. And like good actors, like they have to at least have some kind of talent in those zones. And it's basic skill. Like it's not even, high level, let's say. But you have those, and it will make your job a lot easier and make your acting a lot more believable. I think Gong Jun lacks the mimicry ability in a lot of things. Whether it's just copying a person, like the physical form of the person, or their voice, or their like, he's you can hear like not like in any way saying there's like it's bad, right? I'm not criticizing him, but he's overall a very clunky instrument. He's not a refined instrument. You can hear from his voice and how he sings and how he talks. He has that very straightforward and very sort of like polished way of sound, and also like how he listens to music and how he sings it makes me feel he has very sort of like rough kind of sensitivity to sound, like hearing it and then copying it with his voice. He doesn't have that high sensitivity in that region, which will make it really hard for him to be a good actor. In contrast, Liu Yuning being a singer, he has high sensitivity to sound and mimicry and that. And it actually is really important, particularly for actors and line delivery, and you have to speak a lot. That thing, for example, of Liu Yuning is a lot more developed than Gong Jun. Gong Jun has he doesn't have a good ear. He doesn't have a good voice to copy what he hears. For actors, it's really important that you have a good ear, which is like you can tell that very like little differences, subtleties between voices, between emotions, how you can make your performance, like how you use your voice and you like make it convincing, right? And layered, and for whatever reason, like the might like very small changes of things can mean very different things. That ear is so important. And in Mandarin speaking, right, not only is like just the pronunciation, but where you put voice out, how you use your voice, also like where is the emphasis, how you break the sentence. Because if you emphasize this word in this sentence instead of that word, it means different things. It has logical flow of your conversation needs to every line. If you want to stop, right, and analyze for professional voice acting and also like drama acting people, they have to actually go through the lessons of like, say, let's look at this whole paragraph of the line you're gonna speak. For every line, how fast should you speak it? How slow? Where should you stop? Where should you link it together? Where is the emphasis in that sentence? You have one long sentence, which is the word that needs to come out because of the context of what situation you're in. These things are very, very, very like refined things. And one thing is you can do it through training, which he doesn't get a lot, like Gong Jun as a professional actor these days. But the other thing is you probably need some natural talent, like you can really hear it, and or you can internalize it so much that you don't have to think about it. It goes to your system one. When you act, play the role, it naturally comes out like that. He is highly, highly lacking that. So when he speaks his lines, he always sounds like he's spitting his word out one by one. It's like trying to like slap it on a wall, pop, 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 pop. He speaks in a very monotone and like not delivering meanings by just the tonal and the emphasis, like where you speak that line. And he's very not developed in that. Even though I think in the current truth, he's improved a little bit compared to his previous dramas. When I was listening to certain lines, I think they're spoken better than previous, but overall, he's still not a very good speaker of lines. And for acting, it's really important. Unless you play like those like soundless things, right? These days, for any type of drama, usually that gets watched by people, you have to be a good line deliverer. I mean, think about whether it's in China or in other countries, in your own language, in your own countries, the famous actors. If they can get to the point where the nationally known household names, they definitely are good line deliverers in their language they speak. No exception. No exception. Old, young, gender, like none of that matters. Think about the most famous actors, actress in your country, right, that you're familiar with, like the national treasure level. They will all be very good speech deliverer. Really good ones. Or they really know, even when they naturally don't have a very beautiful voice, which is a vocal quality that you're born with, they know how to say things. They know how to make the voice, like the sound, get to people. Because acting, if you don't have that, you're never gonna get to top tier. I mean, think about English-speaking world. That's like English-speaking film, cinema. That's like probably more known globally. Think about Anthony Hopkins, for example, right? Classic kind of top tier actor. Think about how he speaks, right? How he can control language. And Morgan Freeman, who can make a menu sound like Shakespeare. You can pick out so many people, like really, like in English speaking, famous world of cinema, right? Like how people are good with voice. You have to be good with speech and voice to be a good actor. That's like not like arguable. The problem with Gong Jun is he's very, very not naturally sort of like born for that area. Even if he put a lot of time now to do that, I doubt he's gonna improve much. He just doesn't have that ear. You know, like having a naturally very beautiful voice and being a good speech deliverer, they're not the same thing. Completely actually unrelated. If you have a beautiful voice and you're a very good speech deliverer, plus, great. You know, you have like two things together. If you don't happen to have a beautiful voice, it doesn't actually, like, it's not, you know, and then like that's not a determinant of like whether you're a good speech deliverer. It's a different thing. you may have the worst voice, but if you know how to use it, you know, like it can still be effective because delivering message. Also, like some people when they say things, because their logical mind is very clear and they know how to make the voice and then information get to people. So there are people who speak and it's very easy for you to listen to them. You don't feel like tired. Also, their information gets to you very easily. You remember what they're saying and it's like it's just easy for you. And there are people who speak the exact same thing and you can't even listen, like you can't even understand what they're saying, or the information doesn't get to you because they don't know how to deliver it. These are two different things. Gong Jun's voice quality is normal. It's not too good. It's not too bad. It's like normal. But I don't know, like he doesn't know how to deliver it so that the listeners can easily enjoy it or get information. He lacks a little bit of that. I don't know. Maybe it's to do with partially tone deaf. Patrick Stewart. Yeah. Like those old, like who's been trained in like RADA people, right? Of Britain. I mean, you can't say any of those actors who graduated like from RADA, they're not good at line delivery in English. If they're not good, they can't graduate. It's kind of a hard requirement. He just doesn't, Gong Jun, it's really, really hindering him. It's a really big problem. He hasn't solved it yet. I don't think like it's doable based on his work schedule and like the host of a traffic actor thing. He's either gonna just like eventually not being able to do that many dramas and then just not acting anymore. I mean, like as a person, he's actually not a very problematic person in entertainment business. Overall, he's like a much more normal and acceptable person than a lot of stupid airheads. But when it comes down to professional job as an actor, he's not made for it. Oh, cool, RADA people. For me, because I am not native English speaker, so I wouldn't say English, right? I would want to do that. Like, it's too much work for me. But for me, because I was trained as a kid in China when I was like 5 or 4, I can't remember, like very young, started already to to get trained with like speech delivery. So I have good Mandarin, despite that I'm from a region that has strong accent. So I don't personally, when I speak Mandarin, I don't have any local regional accent. And then because I was like taught from like 4 or 5 until about 13, 14, like I stopped. So it was like less than 10 years, 8 to 10 years of every week going to a place and going through lessons with teachers and get trained. And then actually going to competitions. Like I've done a lot of storytelling competitions when I was little. So although I am not a professional actor, or I've never gone to acting academy that trains people with speech, I am semi-professional, I'd say. When I was a kid, I do a lot of those things, like gigs on stage. So I have a pretty good idea about how that works and how line deliveries and how each line should be spoken. So I listen to the actors, right, and their performance, and to me, this is like, it's like more like an instinct. I wouldn't logically think through like what they're doing wrong or doing right, but I hear it and I'm like, yeah, that line was no, like that line. In an ideal world, you should redo that line because it wasn't done that well. And then obviously, for people who are doing it really well, and then people who are doing it okay, and for people who are like, oh my god, that needs training. I just instinctively, right? I listen to like 2 lines, I'm like, yeah, that person is at that level. Aoi Peng, who actually improved a lot, which is quite impressive, because Aoi Peng initially had very bad accent. Many years ago, I think I've heard him like speaking, and his Mandarin was shit, was worse than Wang Hedi. And now he sounds much, much better, which means he's put real time into it. Globe, the Globe Theater. You know, like once I went to Globe to watch like the open air like performance of Shakespeare, whatever play, when I was in England. It was evening. It was super cold. I was drenched in raincoat, and I don't even remember what was being performed on the Globe stage, but we had to go there with a teacher of like the literature course who's doing Shakespeare that term. And I don't even remember really what I was watching. I just remember going there and shaking in the rain, cold, and like, I think, like I can't understand anything that he's saying. I just want to go home. It's so cold. I remember Globe. I've done it once, and it's a pretty interesting experience. But I wasn't very like I didn't enjoy it because of the terrible English weather. Typical. Yeah, I've had my fair share of Shakespeare and having to like look at English lit stuff. You know, like the first term I got to England, I had to like the first term's courses. There's one that's like modern women's writing or whatever. I can't remember which century women's writing. And the first book I had to read through in English, right? After being basically graduated from the second year of high school in China as a normal high school student. Not even in a foreign language school, just a normal high school. I had to read through Jane Eyre in the first term. That wasn't good, okay? Permanent brain damage. When I was reading Jane Eyre, like I've read it in Chinese, which was okay, but then that was the time I had to read it in English. I was reading it and reading it. I know the plot because I've read it in Chinese, right? But I was reading and I'm like, is she trying to show off that she knows a lot of words? Because she's using vocabularies that no normal people would ever use, like in conversation. I mean, maybe older time people do it, but those words are so unnecessary. I know you want to say this meaning, but can you just use a normal word instead of a word that's just trying to show off you have a big vocabulary because you're educated and you're a woman and you just like don't want people to think you're a woman? I don't know. I was reading Jane Eyre. I was so traumatized by the big words that keep showing up that I don't understand what it means, and I have to look up in dictionary. And that was the time before like internet was like really anything, and it's so time consuming, and I had to look it up and like, oh, it means this. Why do you have to use this word? What's wrong with you, woman? I hated Jane Eyre so much when I was reading English version because I hated like how she uses her words. She's so crazy about like, I have vocabulary, just like look at me. And it permanently just destroyed my good impression of the Bronte sisters. Okay, I just couldn't read their stuff in English because I'm like, show off. Yeah, Jane Eyre. And guess what? I much prefer White Sargasso Sea. A year after, in like a Caribbean kind of like literature course, we had to study like the short, very thin book called White Sargasso Sea. And I'm like, oh my god. I could get revenge. I get revenge in literature because not only is like it's easy to read, it's short, but also because the person is writing a story that's literally like the other side of the mad woman in the attic of Jane Eyre. Like I get revenge, right? Like double revenge. I still remember that weird thing that happened to me. It was like when I was reading White Sargasso Sea, I was so happy. I was so happy somehow for that thing to exist. Oh my god, it's already 12:30. Okay, I'll do 10 minutes and I have to go. This is too long. It's like 3 hours already. Mandarin doesn't work in the same way. Chinese language doesn't work in the same way because Chinese language is character-based. It's not word-based. So what you have to do is you start really difficult because you have to recognize how many characters, right? 1,000 characters is enough for you to deal with anything in life. If you have 3,000 characters you recognize, you can read pretty much everything. And you don't need to know anything more than that. Unless you go to like specifically highly like specialized zones of like ancient literature study, whatever. Because there are some characters that barely gets used in contemporary language anymore. So in Chinese language, it doesn't work the same way as English. English language, honestly speaking, is a very failed system because it tries to incorporate all the other languages. It causes itself to over expand. It has too many words. You know, like in contemporary English, there are over like 2-3 million words. because it cannot self-explain itself. It cannot grow on itself. Existing element and rearrange and combination to create new meanings. It often has to make new words out that doesn't exist before. And it's phonetic, which means you just look at a word and hear it and don't know what it means. You have to actually check up, look at dictionary stuff. Whereas Chinese language, because it's character and symbol based, therefore even if you don't know this word, just by looking at it, for example, it has a wood side. It means it has something to do with a plant or a tree. It has a grass top. It means it has something to do with the grass, a herb, or a flower. And even if you cannot know, like you don't know this word, but based on some parts of it, you can roughly guess what it might be. And then if you are in need of a new word that does not exist previously, now you need that, you can pull apart from a character, and you can rearrange and you create a new meaning. And so what you have is you have a very difficult to remember base of a couple of thousands of symbols. But once you remember them, you're good. Even if you go into certain professions you've never gotten in contact with, you don't have to learn its new vocabulary, which is not the case in English. If you're not in law, you don't understand the law people's words at all. Like it's like 天书. And if you're not in medicine, right? And you go to medicine, none of those chemistry, those pills words like will make sense to you because they're completely like irrelevant to what you use in your profession if you don't do that. Which in Chinese actually not the case, because even if you're not educated in medicine, you can understand a lot of diseases, even different specialties, conditions, medicines, just based on what you read, even if you have no medical education. Which makes English a really, really bad language for education and also for bringing knowledge to people, to make overall the population's education level up, because the threshold is too high. It's too hard. Every profession has its own vocabulary that other professions don't even understand, which does not exist in Chinese language. And it doesn't work the same way. So, I mean, being an English speaker who doesn't speak any other languages makes life really hard for you if you want to go to any other profession and do any other things. Restart. You have to remember another set of like hundreds and thousands of words that are super long and crazy. And nobody understands beyond that profession, which is like not clever. And when you think about the language, right, when you set it up, you are intentionally making it hard for people to learn it. And also, like, in terms of concentrating meaning in a shorter form, right, Chinese is really good at that. Like, usually Chinese book is the thinnest book of the same book in any, like, compared to any other language, because it doesn't need that much space. It just, like, it's concise. Also, the thing that I realized, like, not so long ago, which was why live comments that flashes across the screen, like the Chinese Bilibili likes to do, is not a thing on YouTube or any other foreign English spelling language platforms. Even when you look at like a wiki, they put one line, right? They show like, or row the lines on the side. They don't rush across the screen. Because for Chinese language, it's much easier to take one glance at the picture and immediately get all the information without creating sound in your brain of that lines. Yet for spelling language, it's much harder, and it's much harder to just recognize what the meaning is by looking at the form of the word. It would take more effort and time to get it. Therefore, the flash across the screen, kind of like comments, is not as popular outside of China. And in Bilibili, right, it's insane. Like people just go crazy about. I'll find a video that has like too many things to cross the screen too, and it's so normal for Chinese people to just watch it and not have a problem. And for other languages, it would be probably a very different story. Like for example, this is a typical video, like a high video of Chinese, which would have like so many words just go like by. And yet for most Chinese people, it's not a huge problem for them to enjoy that and not complain. Because the way it gets like taken into your brain, requires it's faster. Like the pathway, I think, is technically faster than reading spelling language. I mean, if you're very familiar with certain words in your spelling language, it could also work that way. But for Chinese, it will work even faster and easier. And tone is, Mandarin Chinese is actually overall not too complicated. It just has 4 tones and one that doesn't have a tone. So it just drops. That's it. Cantonese has 9, which is like a lot more hard, a lot more complicated. And I can't even like sometimes understand like what is the difference between one and the other. Mandarin overall is very easy to tell the difference between It's really easy. But Cantonese is much harder. So, and also, like, the thing is, if you study Chinese and you're a foreigner and Chinese people know you're a foreigner and you speak without the right tones, people will still understand you because they have that expectation. They don't expect you to be fully, like, perfectly tonally do it. And a lot of people don't do it really correctly, even as a native Chinese speaker, because they live in certain region. They have a tendency to tone it differently. Also, a lot of daily speech has a different tone than what you see in dictionary. So when you get a dictionary of a word, sometimes you realize, oh my God, the proper pronunciation of that word is actually this tone. But then daily life, 90% of people will speak it with another tone because it just sounds more natural in daily speech. So people do it. But if you are a news anchor and you're sitting in CCTV's news program and you're doing it, you have to do it like dictionary does it. If you do it wrong, you get money deducted from your salary, and that's real. So when you listen to news reporter or news anchor when they do, you will hear certain words where like, oh, it's different from how I would say it in life, because most people in life actually pronounce it wrong, not as dictionary, but nobody has a problem in real life. It's only when you're doing news anchoring, the person who's saying it may get into trouble if they make it wrong. Like, and it's not really essential in terms of it impedes you from understanding things. It would not. Yeah. Seeing it, yeah, you just get used to it. Get trained a bit, you will. If you are from a dialect region, then it always just speaks dialect and doesn't speak Mandarin, right? And when you become an adult, you have to learn the proper Mandarin. It also takes effort. It doesn't make it easier for Chinese people to do it than foreigners. It's just that they know what they need to speak already, the words, so they don't have to study and think about the sentence and stuff. But in terms of pronounce it, it would be just as hard for them to switch from their dialect accent to the proper Mandarin accent. It doesn't make it easier for Chinese people to do it. But usually if they put effort in trying to correct their tone, in like, if you really want to do it, you can improve greatly within like 3 months from like completely accented and very dialect heavy sound to very good enough Mandarin. Because the entry would be harder. The language is not really harder, right? The benefit is much more manifold than if you study an entry barrier, easy language, but then later things just get unimaginably difficult. English is like that. 26 letters, easy to remember. Although things don't always pronounce with the same rules because it's being the language by a lot of the other languages. So it doesn't follow strict, easy to follow rules like Italian or French. But let's say you can still get over it pretty easily. After that, then life gets difficult because vocabulary, 10,000 words, 20,000 words, 50,000 words. English has 2 million words now. Who's ever gonna be able to deal with all that, right? In a way, it becomes a overgrown kind of code that no one can deal with. Whereas Chinese, on the contrary, is starting point really difficult. Since you're a kid, you can start to write every character like one by one, remember the pronunciation, remember how to write them. And it's pain. It's for primary school kids to do it for like 6 years, right? Like every day they go to school for Chinese class, they learn how to write those characters. So it's painstaking, I'd say, in early days. But once you get them, then it's like, yeah, I'm not a medical man, but I can look at this and I don't have to learn medicine in medical school to look at something and say, okay, this belongs to like ology. All the ology word in English is like, if you don't know the origin, you don't even know what it refers to. You have to look at a dictionary. It's like oncology. Like, okay, so it refers to like women's like, you know, like disease and problems of like, but like, how do you tell from English? It has nothing to do with female, woman, any of that. You can't even link them together just by looking at it. You have to look at a dictionary. It makes life hard. Whereas in Chinese, it's just the character that means a woman, like a matured, like adult woman. So it's like the adult woman specialty part of of hospital. So everyone knows where to go. Like they don't have to even like study another word to know. And so basically Chinese is like hard to start with, but after that it gets easy, right? And then you have a lot more freedom to do it. So it's already 3 hours and 16 minutes. We should stop this pretty soon. Thank you for coming to the February live stream from Happening X. I'm doing this like once every month in case people don't know. It used to be middle of the month, but since end of last year I kind of pushed it earlier. It just happens to be like that. And then also middle of this month would be Chinese New Year, I think. Yes. Not that I'm gonna do anything special. That's different from what I usually do. But I guess I'm just trying to give myself time right now because I have like 5 dramas to watch at the same time. My brain just can't deal with it. It's too much to make a video now. I don't even know what to talk about. I just need more time. And then that's why I did it live now. Hope you've had fun. And I'll see you in my Saturday video. Hopefully by then I could catch up with what's going on in Dramaland with this many dramas ongoing. And I hope you're also doing well and having a good time. Thank you for coming over. Okay, take care. I'll see you soon. Over the weekend. Bye.